having a problem with the good Rev. Apparently, she's heading down to Springfield and she wasn't at the office.
Wait a minute. Who? Reverend
Johnson?
Reverend Johnson?
That's correct.
And she was heading out to Springfield and she wasn't where?
In the office, the number that I called, a gentleman answered and told me that she was not there.
Let me send you a number because that's not generally what happens with her.
Please send it my way so I get you guys rocking and rolling.
Okay. That is not what I got from her yesterday. Okay, let me send you this number now. I'm texting it to you.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay, just sent it to you. My apologies.
You never have to apologize to me.
Always.
Got it. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, great.
Reverend Johnson's on the air.
Okay, let's bring her up and let's make sure if you could get on Facebook so we can make sure that you can hear her. How you doing, Reverend?
I am doing well, Santita. How are you, my dear?
Doing well, thank you. Just give me
All right.
Okay, so Pat. Oh, sorry, Pastor. How you doing, everybody? Daryl and Charles and Robert and Max. Hi, hey. It is. I am chilly. I'm trying to keep this. Trying to keep it cool over here, Pastor Vicky, for the sake of my equipment. They're like, oh, you can keep the equipment on. It can be warm. I'm like, I've run a television studio. Studios are always cool for that reason.
Yes, we know better.
I'm like, I know better. I'm like, no, you're not gonna blame me when this stuff malfunctions. I'm sniffling. Oh boy.
1 minute, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me know if we do not get Dr. Knighton. Please get her up as soon as you. Not.
No, I got you. Don't worry.
Thank you so much, because then I can pivot.
Okay, text me if anything comes up too, okay? If you come up with anything.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for working around us. You're the best. Thank you.
No, you are the best. And I thank you for always be at the ready to jump in. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to bring the audio in 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Democracy on the brink, and one whose legal troubles could lead to indictments. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Four-stage engine start.
Sound from NASA TV of a successful launch this morning of its mighty new moon rocket.
And liftoff.
A manned flight expected in 2024. This is AP News. 10 works are competing for the top award at the Grammys, Album of the Year. AP Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta has a look at the nominees.
Voyage, ABBA album in 40 years, will compete against Adele's 30 and Beyonce's Renaissance for Album of the Year. Harry's House by Harry Styles is also a contender, along with Good Morning Gorgeous by Mary J. Blige, Lizzo's Special, Brandy Carlisle's In These Silent Days, and Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. The final competitors are Coldplay's Music of the Spheres and Un Verano Sin Ti by Bad Bunny, the first album to be nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys and the Latin Grammys. I'm Margie Zaraletta.
Drake and The Weeknd did not submit their music for Grammy consideration. Both artists have felt overlooked in the past. Drake still got 4 nominations for work on other artists' music. I'm Ben Thomas, AP News.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am breathing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Yeah, I'm out of Detroit. I'm back in Chicago on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. It's a joy to be with you today as we have a lot to talk about. Former President Trump has announced that he is running for president again. What are the implications of that? Particularly as he is facing so many legal troubles. What does all of this mean, everybody? What does it all mean? Well, we're going to see in a hot second. Because guess what? He's running. He's running. Interestingly enough, his daughter Ivanka will not be taking a role in this campaign, but many people do not know, it has been announced so, that her husband has been battling thyroid cancer. Yes, Jared Kushner, very young man. And so whatever you think about their politics, pray for them, because that cannot be easy for that young family. They've got 3 beautiful young children, and it's a very difficult time for them. But also, they took social hits. And then they disagreed with their father, with her father, and with his father-in-law on some things. So there you have it. But this will be a very interesting cycle. So I want to know what your thoughts are. What do you think about him running for president again? What impact do you think his running for president will have upon election 2024? He is still the front runner after 2 impeachments and indictments or investigations, all of that, people all around him. With all of that, he's still the front runner in the Republican column. It's just unbelievable. What does he stand for? What is it? What is it that is so attractive, that so many people find so attractive? I mean, not us, but, I think the only way that you can really, really dig down and find out what's going on is to ask those questions. Be more objective. Maybe it's because I spent a lot of time in science in college, and science does not, and really, if you look at life is so scientific. It really is about the facts. Don't ever say that something looks crazy to you. That means, all it means is that you don't have all of the facts. When you get more of the information, then things don't look so crazy. You go, oh, now I understand how we ended up with this conclusion, right? So let's talk about President Trump today. We've got a panel, and you are part of that panel. I want to know what your thoughts are. Where do you think this presidential run is going to go? Do you think he'll be successful? Do you think Ron DeSantis will be able to upend him? Do you think that President Biden is the strongest candidate to face him in 2024, assuming that he gets the nomination? Well, let's talk about it at 763-9278. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to be talking about the Cherokee Nation. As you know, I'm so proud. My brother Jonathan will be seated in Congress. He's at orientation right now, along with Delia Ramirez. So proud of them both. So proud of them both. That having been said, the Cherokee Nation have been trying to get seated for more than 100 years. It is law for them to be part of the U.S. Congress, to have a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. That has not happened. That has not happened. We're going to have the delegate Kim Teehee, the woman who has been, the person who has been selected by the Cherokee Nation and affirmed by their chief, Chuck Hoskin, to go to be their representative in Congress. They will be with us at the bottom of the hour to talk about that push to get her seated and to get their voice heard at the congressional table. I support that, and I'm going to do everything I can, and I hope that you will join me to help them get seated. That is the very least we can do, and we need to seat all of the First Nations. That's right. They need to have representatives in Congress. Come on, everybody. It's Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. And it is going to be quite the cold day. I mean, I drove up to Michigan with my father and back and saw snow. More snow coming back than I did. Going up there, everybody. In Chicago, we're going to see some snow today. A high of 37 degrees, but snow showers. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, 32 degrees will be the high. Snow showers. The NFL, unbelievably, took a night off last night. And in the NBA, the Timberwolves will be playing the Magic, and the Bulls will be facing off against the Pelicans. And the NHL, the Predators 2, the Wild 1, and the Blues will be here in Chicago. Former President Donald Trump announced yesterday that he will seek the Republican presidential nomination in 2024, quote, in order to make America great and glorious again. I am tonight announcing my candidacy for the president of the United States, he told a crowd gathered at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Palm Beach, Florida. He was surrounded by allies, advisors, and conservative influencers, and he delivered a speech that was very interesting. In fact, he was talking about a rainbow coalition. He was speaking of the fact that he has increased Black and Latino membership in the Republican Party, and that is true. It's really interesting, and he was very, very subdued last night. Did you see that? He was that. What do you make of that? Some people are saying it's because of his legal troubles. No, I think it's because it's another strategy that he's employing. But let's talk about that today at 763-9278, 763-763-9278. There is no room for sentiment in politics, everybody. This is strategy, or as George W. Bush would say, strategery. The historic Artemis 1 mission took flight today, paving the way for NASA to return astronauts to the moon for the first time in 50 years, following months of anticipation and postponed launches. The agency's rocket lit its engines at 1:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and hauled itself off the launch pad in Florida. There are no astronauts on this mission. It's an uncrewed capsule, but it will complete its journey in about 25 and a half days, and we wish it safe journey so that we can get a crew on there and get back to the moon, everybody. World leaders are attempting to defuse a potential escalation in the month-long Ukraine war after a Russian-made missile landed in eastern Poland on Tuesday, killing 2 people. It's very interesting. The Western powers did not run to blame Russia for that. It turns out there is a BBC report that says that actually this Russian-made missile was shot by Ukraine. We'll see how all of this goes. Those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. We've got Pastor Vicki Johnson, that hour of power at the St. Thomas Lutheran Church here in Chicago at 80th and Jeffrey. You want to get on over there, get on over there, get on over there, get on over there, and be blessed every Sunday from 11:45 to 12:45. Pastor Vicki Johnson, we need some good news today.
Well, good morning, Santita, and good morning to all of your morning stars and friends. There is good news. I took my mother, who will be 92, in 10 days.
Praise God. Yes.
Amen. She'll be 92. I took her for a doctor's appointment on yesterday. They needed to take blood, so we went to the lab. The phlebotomist was so skilled at her craft until my mother didn't realize that her blood was being drawn until the third vial. It was such a joy being there, watching her do what she did in an excellent way. Excellent. Over 50 years ago, Dr. King put it like this: if it falls to your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. Sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well. Then he said this poem: if you can't be a pine on the top of a hill, be a scrub in the valley, but be the best little scrub on the side of the hill. Be a bush if you can't be a tree. And if you can't be a highway, just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. It isn't by size that you win or fail. Be the best of whatever you are. These words were spoken right here in Chicago, Illinois, by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the New Covenant Baptist Church 1 year before his assassination. Whatever your lot in life might be, strive to be the best. Strive for excellence. My mother was blessed by her excellent phlebotomist, and people will be blessed by you when you do your best and strive for excellence. If you will do this, and I believe that you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And be proud of what you do. Be excited about it. We stopped at a Cracker Barrel yesterday. My father loves Cracker Barrel. Loves it, loves it, loves it. And so, of course, we stopped so he can get his chicken and dumplings or whatever it is that he's going to order. And what was really touching, I have to tell you, Pastor Johnson, was this. It was just, I think, not too far from Battle Creek, Michigan. It was white and black people, working class, who were working together. But what was so touching was when they saw that Reverend Jackson was in the restaurant, they started coming out of the kitchen. And they just wanted to touch him, hug him, kiss him. One woman said, you were here before and you were moving a little slowly, Reverend. I'm glad to see your mobility is back. She said, I've been praying for a young white woman. She said, I just had to come out. She said, I got to go back in and cook. And then I spoke with another young woman who went to Michigan State. She started crying. She said, I sang for you in 2004 when I was in school at Michigan State. And I just want to thank you. And it really touched me to see. I said, the way you've touched your lives, Daddy, you could never be paid for this. I said, and that's what you always told us when we were kids, that money has its place and money is not my point. If you want to make it, great, but I wouldn't hang my hat on that to make a living. Let God make the way for you and you're going to be just fine. Serving people. He said, there's no higher calling. Serving God by serving people. And he further speculated that, if we could break down these barriers, we could do some great things. He said, because all these people have something in common, whatever their backgrounds. They're all poor and they're working here. Thought about that. And when I spoke with this young woman, who I just spoke of, I said, well, what do you do? She said, well, I'm just a cook. I said, wait a minute, I'm eating the food. That's a very important thing for me right now. But it turns out she's also a carpenter. I said, wow, that's what Jesus did. And she looked at me. She said, and I love to do it. And I promised her I'm going to reach out to a friend of mine who is teaching in Michigan. I said, you should be teaching that. You're going to touch some young woman who can't even believe that a woman can do this. And then we started talking about how little women are paid. And I'm an older Black woman. She's a young white woman, and she's got a single mom with 3 kids, and she's working with her mom. I'm sharing all of that to say, everybody, that we have got to come together. And we have to respect and love people wherever they work. Just a cook? Oh, no. That is honorable. A carpenter? Jesus did that. That is honorable. If you don't think the garbage men and women are important, let them go on strike. Pastor Johnson? If you don't think the janitor is important, come into that building the next day. Oh, no. Everybody matters. And we need to start treating people and paying people like they matter. So I just had to say that, and I wanted to thank you for blessing us with that today, because we needed that.
Amen.
More than ever, preaching that at Pastor Thurston's church. Generations of them at New Covenant, and they are some preaching machines. God bless them, and love you at St. Thomas Lutheran Church, everybody. 80th and Jeffrey, 11:45 to 12:45. You don't want to miss it. It is an hour of power and empowerment. You will be blessed. We have got Dr. Shanina Knighton with us today as we're in this cold season. It's cold, and we're going into the holy season. I can't believe we're almost a month out from Christmas. It's unbelievable. But now we're about to get all the snow and everything else. Is there anything you can tell us to do to help us to keep our immune systems robust so that we can be, what did you say? Illness is not our lot. Wellness should be. Pastor Dr. Knighton, you there? Ooh.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, girl. Well, I've got about 4 minutes. Well, 3 minutes, and they belong to you. You go.
Okay, so I was going to say, and it's so interesting because I was so stuck in the headlines and stuck in the message this morning, right?
Well, go wherever the Spirit leads you with what you want to say today.
So it's so interesting, Santita. I think like one of the things to touch upon is honestly, and it's not in the political realm, but it's just the fact that we don't think about infection prevention outside of, let's say, healthcare settings or for populations outside of the public. And so when you think about populations that face the public, that interact with the public in close proximity on a regular basis, that most likely don't have infection prevention and control guidelines, that would be, I would say, law enforcement. People that's in security, individuals that may have to physically engage with others, on a regular basis in order for them to be able to do their jobs. And so as I'm thinking about, let's say, the holiday season, I know here, and I think it might be everywhere, that they say that crime is the highest around Thanksgiving. That's a thing here. It may very well be a thing everywhere. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest thing is like even in the midst of, let's say, this season of where people have to interact with others, thinking about the safety, the individuals that will be facing outwards with others that very well may not be thinking about infection prevention and control. I know individuals may say, oh, well, masks are dropped. We no longer need to wear masks. But imagine having someone in your face, that is a stranger or multiple strangers that are in your space, and the ability to not be able to protect yourself if someone's hollering or yelling at you and droplets are being spewed in your face. And I guess I'd say that about law enforcement, but that could apply in nursing and so many other things. But it's just really thinking about your profession, especially during this season. What are instances of where you may be interacting with someone and essentially may have that close contact in a way that others typically don't? So it can be dealing with disgruntled customers during this holiday season. It could be someone hollering at you because it's in the heat of the moment. That person very well may be expressing themselves, and you very well may be calm and listening. But the thing is you don't want to be calm and listening and then walk away with COVID or walk away with another respiratory illness during the season. So I guess my biggest thing that I just challenge individuals to do that have professions or work that are going to require them to interact with the public and that sometimes be within close proximity, consider ways for which you can protect yourself. Meaning that it is very challenging when you're short-staffed, when you're in the heat of the moment and trying to get things done, that you rarely think about yourself, because a lot of us, are in public serving professions.
Yeah.
But even with being in a public facing profession, we still have obligations to the people that we love, and those are the people that we go back home to. And we don't want to take them back anything that's going to cause them to be ill. So it's just very important to think about infection prevention and control in that lens.
Put on that mask, everybody. I was at a few events where people ate and they were just talking over my food and I couldn't eat. Thanks to Dr. Knighton. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Dr. Knighton, please, thank you so much for being so understanding today. But I was like looking at this, trying to figure out, these folks were just eating and they were talking, and I was like, what? Trying to
tune into the Tom Hartman radio program, your home for news, opinion, and insight, right here on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
See these folks doing this to my food.
Cold floors? The
And how are you?
Probably down below in the basement or crawl space. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer with Perm Seal. I'm happy to say that we can now help make your basement and crawl space warmer.
All right, Miss Jackson. Our Henry's actually here to take over, but just to give you a quick heads up on the show right now, we have Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. and Delegate Kim Teehee ready to rock and roll.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that you all were able to jump in with us today.
Sure. Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah, but I want you to return so we can speak about this more extensively.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? I saw this. I said, let me just bring this in like right now. I didn't want to miss anything.
Thank you.
Oh, no.
Chief is on, right?
Oh, Chief Hoskin?
Yes, I'm on.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thank you for making the space to be with us. I'm so honored to have you both.
Thank you.
So honored to have you both. And so let's get right to this. And we will talk about this more extensively, because we've got to do much more to highlight this issue. Because I would think, well, we just have to do much more. That's all there is to it.
The time is right.
Now's the time. Now it's time. What is it? It's been 187 years.
That's true, and with this hearing, we've got a real shot here.
Okay, so I wish we had known. I've got because we have to space out Reverend's travels. But if you all could please reach out to Reverend when you have a chance, if you have a chance today, because I know he does want to physically be present to express support.
Wonderful.
So he would love to come to Washington. I know that, and do whatever it is that you need.
I would love to have him. And you, Santita.
Oh no, girl! Of course I'll be there. I'll be there. Of course I will be. Of course, absolutely, I'll be there. No, so just let me know, and I'm there. If you just remind me, because we're just coming off of our automotive summit, And so there's that. But I'm going to have you on until about 50 after the hour. So I'm not going to say much. I want you to just let us know what you're doing in Washington and how we can be supportive. Okay.
Well, Chief Hoskin is actually going to be the witness.
Hi, Ms. Jackson. We're going to be back in 60.
On behalf of the nation.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. This is great. But this is all great news. This is all great news. I'm glad to know that things are moving forward. Just one moment.
Back in 30.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Henry. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So sorry for everything.
No worries, honey. Things happen. Let's keep it moving.
Most definitely. Stand by.
Okay, thank you.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Oh, yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. WCPT is my home station. The largest progressive talk radio station in the country, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and other stations throughout the country. And, of course, meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about former President Trump and his announcement that he is making a third run for the presidency. What do you think about that? But I want this to be uppermost in your mind. It's been 187 years since it was signed into law by Congress. It was authorized by Congress that the Cherokee Tribal Council would have a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. It's been 187 years, and it has never happened. It has never happened, but today I'm glad to report that we are closer than ever. There is a delegate selected, Delegate Kim Teehee, brilliant lawyer, someone who has respect from all quarters of society, within the First Nation community and really in the broader community. She's worked with the Obama administration. She has done so much. And we're so honored to have the head of the chief of the Cherokee Nation. We're so excited every time he's been here. The principal chief of the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr., who actually is going to be a witness. They're going to Washington today because we've got to make this happen. They should be in the House of Representatives. It's been 187 years since they were to have had a seat. Welcome back to the show, or should I say welcome home, Delegate Teehee and Chief Hoskin. How are you today?
Doing well.
So where do we begin? Delegate Teehee, would you like to kick things off, or would you like the chief to do that?
Go ahead, Chief.
Well, Santita, you and your listeners have helped us get here. I mean, you've been covering this for a number of years. Here's the issue. You framed it up nicely, but the treaty we're talking about nearly 2 centuries ago was the basis for the forced removal of the Cherokee people. It was the basis for the Trail of Tears, great destruction to the Cherokee people. We lost a quarter of our population. It's always been a source of pain and injury in that treaty. And you mentioned it in the opening. Cherokee Nation gets a delegate in the United States House of Representatives when Congress shall make provision for the same. Well, here in a few hours, we're going to be looking directly across the table at Congress, at the Rules Committee, something we've been pushing for, something Kim Teehee has been advocating for. She's the the designated delegate from the Cherokee Nation if they will seat her, and they should seat her. And so here we are. We have a hearing at 10 o'clock Eastern time at the Rules Committee, in which for the first time in 2 centuries, Congress is going to take another look at this treaty, and we're going to show them that the United States made a promise to seat a Cherokee Nation delegate. And look, promises ought to be kept, and that's our message today to the Rules Committee of the House of Representatives, and we're going to get Kim Teehee seated.
Chief Chuck Hoskin of the Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin of the Cherokee Nation. Let me ask you this before I pivot to Delegate Teehee. Is it a promise or is it the law, Chief Hoskin?
Well, it's the law. I mean, the treaty is the supreme law of the land, no matter what kind of treaty you're talking about. It is in the Constitution that it's the supreme law of the land. This is a treaty that the Cherokee Nation itself has been, held account to meet its end of the various provisions. And so it's got the force of law. We know that. And so there's really no escaping this, in my opinion. It's not just, it's nice to keep a promise. It's a legal obligation on the part of the United States. And this is a test for the United States. When it comes to meeting legal obligations to Indian country, we know the history. Every single treaty we've ever had with the United States has been broken. That same story plays out across all of Indian country, 500 plus tribes. A large number of those have treaties, all of them breached in some way. But here we are in the 21st century, an opportunity for America to make good on a really important promise. But it is the law of the land.
It is the law. And I want to state that so that the audience is clear and so that we can understand that we are asking for the law to be enforced. We're not asking for a favor. This is the law, and it was made law 187 years ago. It has not been enforced. Delegate Teehee, what can we do to have the law enforced?
Well, thank you, Santita, for making that distinction. It is the law of the land. Treaties with Indian tribes in this country are not abrogated unless Congress or the courts expressly do so. And our treaty right has never been abrogated, has never been overturned. And however old the treaty right is, it is still a valid treaty right. And so what we can do is go to CherokeeDelegate.com and ask your listeners to reach out to the members of Congress on the House side in particular, the House Rules Committee, Speaker Pelosi, and ask them to, number one, tune in to the hearing today at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on C-SPAN, but also to ask for a vote. We appreciate the historic nature of having an oversight hearing on the treaty right itself, but we'd like to have a vote too, and we'd like to get it done this year.
What was the basis of this treaty? Why was this treaty established in the first place? Chief Hoskin.
Well, to me, the treaty was crafted in the first place because the United States was trying to essentially rid itself of the Cherokee Nation. Think about what time period we're talking about, Santita. 1835, the United States not as expansive across the continent as it is now. The problem, the Indian problem, as they would call it, that the United States had was to be solved by pushing Indians across the map. Cherokee Nation was not going willingly. We weren't going quietly. We were resisting. We were going to the courts. We were going to the Congress. We were building support. Ultimately, the United States crafted this Treaty of New Echota of 1835 with actually a minority faction of Cherokees. They couldn't even govern. They couldn't even treat with our government. But in any case, the treaty was imposed so that the United States could essentially execute a solution to its problem, and it perceived its problem to be Cherokees on land that states like Georgia wanted to occupy. So that was the basis. We were forcibly removed. The United States certainly got what it wanted out of that bargain. I mean, think about this. The United States wanted to move us across the map to what is now Oklahoma, at that time not a state, not even really a territory in the United States, although owned by the United States. The United States got something out of that bargain. We're coming to the Congress today to say, we would like our part of the bargain. We would like what we bargained for. We would like the delegate seated.
Yeah, and we want the law enforced. I mean, I don't think we can, I don't think we can say that enough, Chief Hoskin, that the law is being broken by not seating Delegate Teehee. Or whoever the delegate is. Delegate Teehee?
Yeah, and importantly, as part of that treaty right, we gave up millions, 7 million acres of land in that treaty, in that land cession. That's what was, given up in that treaty. That's what was negotiated about in that treaty. 7 million acres of land. I think that's about the size of 8 states in this country. The amount of land that was given up, and in that march, that forced march, where a quarter of our population perished. And so we do think it'd be some small measure of justice for the United States to honor its promises to honor the law, just as you described.
It's the law. I mean, because if we make it a promise, right? I think that's one of the things I've learned from just growing up in the civil rights movement. It sounds softer, and it sounds like, well, you said that you were going to do this for me. No. This is the law. Right now, the law is being broken because this treaty, if you have a Treaty of Versailles, we honor all of these treaties, particularly with European countries. And when it comes to countries of color, indigenous people, African people, Indian people, somehow or another, the treaty it's something wrong with it. I'm just putting it out there. And I just think that we have a treaty with the Cherokee Nation that is 187 years old, everybody. It needs to be honored. It needs to be honored. They are to have a delegate who is seated in the House of Representatives, just as you have with the District of Columbia. And she should be a voting member. And we will work on that too. That's what needs to happen. So how can we support you, Delegate Teehee? How can we support this proposition and make this happen?
Well, thank you for that. I think your listeners can reach out to members of the House of Representatives and ask them to vote this year to seat the delegates. But in addition to that, Santita, to also urge the House to make sure that the delegate of the Cherokee Nation has similar authorities as delegates of the U.S. territories. After all, law established U.S. territory delegates just like the law established Cherokee Nation's delegates, albeit in a treaty.
Chief Hoskin, the final word belongs to you. You are the equivalent of the president of this nation, and so we want to hear from you. Principal Chief Hoskin of Chuck, Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin of the Cherokee Nation. Chief Hoskin?
Santita, first of all, Wado, that's thank you, and Cherokee to you and your listeners. You've helped us get this far. We're hitting a milestone today. Thinking a lot about my ancestors this morning, a lot about my predecessors in this office of Principal Chief. They sacrificed so much and endured so much, and here we are in 2022 poised to hold America accountable for this promise. And I think that's important not just for Cherokee people. I think it's important for all Americans. And so I would encourage people to go to CherokeeDelegate.com. It takes a few minutes, a few clicks to send a message to your member of Congress to say, let's keep America's promise to the Cherokee people. So we'll get it done, Santita. Liddell.
Amen. And let us observe the law. This is law. She is to be seated, and it should happen immediately. I want you all to come back. Let me know what your schedule is looking like. You're going to be testifying today, Chief Hoskin. And so perhaps we can follow up tomorrow or on Friday to find out what happened. We have to keep the issue alive and keep it in front of people because not enough of us know about this. Blessings to you both. Blessings to you both. So Delegate Teehee, you'll be hearing from me later on today because we want to keep this issue alive. We want the law to be observed. That's what we want. Since they took millions of acres of your land, that's the least that they can do. Oh my gosh, this is just too much. But
I'm going to send you a toolkit for you and your listeners and the Reverend to push out on social media.
Okay, send it on, and we will do that. And everybody, all my morning stars will do that too. Everybody will. We're going to make this happen. Wonderful. We're going to make this happen. I want you to, I won't rest until I see you seated alongside my brother Jonathan and Daly Ramirez.
Congratulations, by the way. That's a wonderful victory, Jonathan.
Well, I will feel better when I see you in there. So how about that? I won't be satisfied until I see you there. It's incomplete. The victory is incomplete for me. So there we go. Let's make this happen, everybody. Let's make this happen. CherokeeDelegate.com, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, CherokeeDelegate.com, everybody. Let's get involved and call your representatives today and let them know that we want Kim Teehee seated. We want the Cherokee Nation representatives seated in the U.S. House of Representatives. It's a 187-year-old law that has not been observed. It needs to happen right away. Sending you all much love. I know the chief is going to be brilliant in his testimony today. I can't wait to see it myself. God bless you both.
Thank you so much.
God bless you both. All right, Madam Congresswoman. I can't wait to make that happen because it's already the law. So I'm just going to speak it into existence. How about that? Hey, everybody. CherokeeDelegate.com. CherokeeDelegate.com. Please let us get her seated. It's the law, and it's just, and it's justice. They deserve that. All right, everybody, what about President Trump, former President Trump, who announced yesterday that he is running for president again? He filed the papers, because you have to file papers, with the FEC, with the Federal Election Commission. It is official. And he is the front runner. Yes, he is. Even though you see this love affair that the media are having with Ron DeSantis because he's not Trump, the love that and the devotion, quite frankly, that his followers, that his supporters, I'll put it that way, have for him, it's not transferable. So we don't know beyond Florida and beyond the governor's race in Florida, the impact that Ron DeSantis will have. We don't know. We do know that this will be his third run for the presidency, former President Donald Trump. We do know that he got more than 70 million votes the last time he ran. Highest second place finisher in the history of the Republic. We do know that. So what will happen here? A lot of people are saying, well, I'm not so sure that he should be running. And that's within the GOP. But the party faithful are not saying that. So, and even though the media keeps saying that his people lost, the majority of the people who ran under his banner did win. Yes, they did. So let's talk about this, everybody. It's 773-927-9278. Now, he's never won the popular vote. Keep that in mind. That's why we have to look at this electoral college. That's why we have to look at all this stuff so we can make things right, everybody. Because he's never won the popular vote. Never. But he's won according to the rules that have been put in place. Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Lavonia Perryman, brilliant Emmy Award-winning media host. I can't just put her on radio because she does have a tremendous radio station on one of the most widely listened radio shows in America. Indeed, she is on the Superstation that comes out of Detroit, 9:10 a.m. And I don't want you to miss her. She is on from 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time every day of the week. Brilliant Lavonia Perryman. Of course, we've got attorney Aaron Connolly. So let me start with you, Lavonia Perryman, someone who I've known who's also been very active in Democratic politics. So you have been a Democratic organizer, a political operative. I mean, that's how I've met you all these years ago. I've known you since I was a child. And tell me, what is your reaction? Because, it seems like his manner, and you know this because you've done so much media coaching too. She's done it all, everybody. He was much more subdued, Lavonia Perryman.
You're absolutely right. First and foremost, I want to thank you so very much for allowing me to share this time with you. And I want people to understand, as we talk about politics, policy, who could represent you, the country, that it is so important that we understand that we have voices like Miss Jackson, I like to call her that, that she is a young lady of importance that I've known literally since she was a little girl. But I want folks to understand the power of the message, the voice, and having an opportunity to dissect it today. First and foremost, that is so important. But what I saw yesterday, what I heard yesterday from a man who has been in this business of entertainment, who got into the business of politics, and claimed to be the savior of many people. I want folks to understand he wasn't talking to everybody and about everybody. I picked up once again, and I sat up this morning since like 4 o'clock, like Miss Santita did, and dissected the speech. It was, the energy was not there that we normally expect if we look at it from a messaging presentation. Number two, there were so many points that were not true. Absolutely not true. Let me just say this, because I usually say this about other journalists. He lied. I'm going to say it. Livonia. He lied darn near for 40 minutes about everything from New York to Florida, issues, even about our good Chicago brother, President Barack Obama, that he stole articles of papers, Secret Service papers, and took them when he left the White House. It is known that the archives, they took the papers to Obama. That's one. Number two, people need to understand this wasn't about America. It was not. It was about Donald Trump trying to hide under the skirt of democracy. That was what he was doing. And he's good at it. We can't take that away, Santita. He's good at it.
Let me ask you this. As someone who's been in media on both sides of the camera and on both sides of the mic. I mean, because you produce, but she's a stunning woman, everybody. And so she's been on camera. But she's always really, really pushed. You've inspired me because you're like, no, you need to produce so you can shape the message.
I got to produce I got to produce her show on the Word Network, by the way. But go ahead.
No, you did, but you've also produced Reverend. You said, "Hey, Reverend, they'll say it this way." But can we make sure? I've seen you do that, and so I mean, as we have Aaron Connolly and Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary here today. I mean, what did you see? Because, the same guy who ran in 2016 and 2020 was not going to be the same guy who popped up on us on 2024. You never are. You have so many other experiences. Reverend was a different, he was a more evolved guy in 80 than he was in 84. And then he was in 64.
I'm glad you said that. I saw an older man who was under stress. And no one would say that Trump under stress. I also saw a guy who really was looking at his future, what the possibilities finally are, and what he had created for himself in his bubble. He could see that the possibility of that going up in flames, and the reason he was speaking the way he was, and his handlers. This is what happens behind the scenes. His handlers wrote a speech. You've got to stick to it because every word is going to be dissected. And then every word was. But he went off script. And literally, guys, he lied for 40 minutes. And guess what? Once again, media people, we brought the masses of media folks. We listened, we wrote it, and then we said, well, he might win, he might not, but we're going to move over to this other new guy. This new guy is not going to serve us, if we're going to do the politics of this conversation, he is not going to serve the masses of the people. And I'm just going to say it. Black people, brown people. I mean, the actions of both individuals, Trump in terms of his speech and his actions and what he said yesterday, DeSantis, what he is doing right now, if that's what we're banking on saving America on, we need to start rowing a boat up the Detroit River. That's what I am. That's what I saw. That's what I felt. And that's what we are, I believe, black and brown people are today. That's what we need to look at.
Well, if it's going to happen to black and brown people, it's going to end up happening to everybody. I want to know what your thoughts are, everybody. I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Aaron, of course, you'll be speaking more in the next block, but I have 1 minute, literally, before we go to break. Your thoughts. Have you recovered yet? Have you gotten up off the floor? I had to ask that, Pastor Yuri, because I think you need to pray over her. Throw some prayers her way, Pastor.
Clearly.
Throw them her way.
Yeah, I think there's so much to say in the next hour, so I don't want to try and put it all in 1 minute. But
no, just give me a one word, huh? Give that to me.
Well, I'm agent of chaos. Agent of chaos. That is what this man is, right?
Pastor Yuri.
And
wait a second, y'all just gonna give me one word, Pastor Yuri. Where's your popcorn? Because you said you were gonna sit up there and you were gonna sit on the sofa with your popcorn, and something sweet, because that's how we like it. All that butter, a little bit of salt. What happened?
Yeah, ran out of the popcorn. It is. I'll just say manipulation is the one word I'll give you.
Ooh, well, okay, talk about a cliffhanger. We're going to hear more about that on the other side of the break. And of course, Dwight McKee, brilliant sociologist who predicted all of this 4 years ago, in 2016 and again in 2020. He said he's not going anywhere. He said he's going to run again. He said, I don't care how many times you impeach him. He ain't going nowhere. He's been impeached twice, everybody. Whew.
Not until America, I can see it coming along. It's not a tsunami that happened on November 8th, but not until America decides, and that's all Americans say, you know what? We are not going to continue to be, as the Temptations say, in the midst of a ball of confusion. We will not accept this. When we decide, and I keep saying this, the last word for the moment.
10 seconds.
I really believe that mothers and fathers, when mothers say, I'm tired of being abused by this man calling me out of my name. I'm tired of him taking advantage and calling my grandparents out of their name.
I gotta come out.
I'm tired of all of this. We're going to stand up and wipe him out.
Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Woo, you all, we're on Facebook Live. Keep talking, everybody.
My mind.
I think
go ahead.
This is great stuff. I'm loving it. Ow!
One of the things, there is a theory. People said, is there a theory? I said, yeah. And the sister who was on the other line, ball of confusion. See, confusion, in the midst of confusion, people create their own world. And he's laying out his own world. He wants to keep the confusion going on as he continues to do what he has been doing for the last, and your dad knows, for the last, 30, 40 years?
But the corporate media have been in on this, okay? Because first of all, you know better than anyone that when the corporate media want to shut you down, they stop mentioning your name. They have mentioned his name every single day since he lost. They made him the front runner for the Republican nomination in 2020, the night he lost. This is someone who's been able to borrow billions from banks without paying them back. So this is not some unknown entity. I want to know what the real deal is, because I'm like, y'all don't mention Black leadership, Latino leadership. I can't even talk about this 187-year-old treaty, a law that Congress signed to seat the Cherokee Nation in the U.S. House of Representatives. They haven't brought that up. And if they wanted to make that an issue, Livonia, they could do that all day, every day.
Front and center. How is it? It's not by mistake, people. She is right. It is not by mistake that you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and hear Trump's name, and you go to bed at 12 midnight and hear his name.
Every day.
Every station, every network, every corporation we have created in the likeness and image of an enemy, and until he is no longer their enemy, he will be the conversation. How is it that we had an election November the 8th, and there were people, like you said, from all over the country, win, lose, lost, won. All of the conversation we can have about thousands, winners and losers. Who comes up on the next week and takes the breath out of real media, real conversation. Trump.
No, but I'm just saying all of that is purposeful.
A design.
Yeah.
A design.
You know, so I'm looking at him and I'm not mad at him. I'm like, what is the real agenda here?
That's right. What is it? Why do they need to have him double back after election? It just happened. The country was involved in making a turn in democracy, making a turn in, election, making a turn in their city, making a turn for health care, making a turn for education, abortion rights. And we are right back. Where are we today? Having a conversation about Trump.
But we always have been. Reverend has reminded all of us that America has always been a right-wing nation. Okay? So when he said that, Todd, you were there, and Aaron, because we were doing Keep Up Alive. Remember when he said that?
Yeah.
He said it's, and it kind of stopped all of us in our tracks because all of the movements in America have been left-wing to counter the right wing.
But your dad also reminds us that African Americans are not as progressive in our thoughts and ideas and convictions as we would want to think we are.
Well, we're very conservative. Now, Pastor Yuri knows that. Oh, come on, Pastor Yuri.
Yeah, our social leanings fall within a particular and peculiar worldview. Our politics are a bit more expansive because we find ourselves either on the margins or out.
Hi, Miss Jackson.
Yes.
So I have CK, Attorney Gerald Jones, and Attorney Dwight McKee ready to go.
Okay, fantastic.
I just called John Nicholas.
No, he's at on the sheet. He's on at 7:30.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Then we're ready to go.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry I'm not in studio. I'm at home doing my show from home and stand by.
Yeah. Well, we must say, and I have said, we had just recently.
We're going to be live in about 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes?
Yeah. Awesome conference, Rainbow Push Coalition Conference, to deal with the politics and the policies of the auto industry.
Wait. Miss Livonia. I was talking with Damon Lester, who's the head of the National Association of Minority Auto Dealers. He said because they were pushing electric vehicles, right, at the whole conference.
Yes.
Okay, and I was like, what's the deal? He said because in a few years it will be illegal to have a car that's not electric. That blew my mind. I said,
wow.
He said, oh no. He said, no, we have to move in this direction because they're talking about having stations, charging stations, every 50 miles. I was like, whoa, you're going to remake the entire interstate system. They're going to have to.
Back in 60.
After I saw the scorecard and I talked to him also, I just want folks to know that the car that you're driving today in 10 years will be an antique.
And in about 5 won't be usable.
Yes. Antique. Do you understand that the car that I just bought maybe 4 years will be an antique? And that's the truth in terms of the business of the auto industry. So we need to,
I need you to work with me on. We need to represent what we learned this week, Miss Livonia.
That's correct.
Okay.
Back in 15.
It's true.
Stand by.
It's true.
I'm very serious because you all have to understand that you're going to have an electric car in a few minutes. Stand by, everybody.
Yes.
CK?
Good morning, Santita. How are you, my dear?
You can hear we got a whole lot of people here, so I'm going to send you the list because I came in from Detroit last night and I'm like trying to figure it out. But let's pivot to Dwight first. Of course you have Aaron, you have Reverend Dr. Yuri, you have
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world. world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. I am
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Wednesday, hump day, November 16th, 2022. Former President Trump is back on the run. What do you think about that, everybody? Call us at 773-763-9278. Of course, it's Legal Q&A with CK. CK said, I want to talk about politics. Do you think people are tired of it right now? I said, no, CK, I think everybody's kind of into this, particularly since we have someone who predicted this a long time ago, Dwight McKee. So I had to get him for you because you said I want Dwight because I know he's got something to say. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, we've got Lavonia Perryman, someone who we have known forever out of Washington, D.C., Emmy Award-winning producer, on-air personality, in radio, in television, so brilliant, Democratic political operative and organizer. I've known her through the Jackson campaigns, through Marion Barry's campaigns, just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And she was helping us to understand President Trump's demeanor last night, which was very, very different than what we have seen. His energy was much more subdued, and he was speaking of all of the new people he's brought into the party, namely Black and brown people. So it was an interesting speech, and you have to look at it. At least I did. I'm going to watch it again so I can really kind of wrap my mind around it. But I want to hear from you, everybody. We need to hear from you today at 773-763-9278. What do you make of him running for president again? What do you make of it? Hey, Effie, you need to call in. And Jarvis, and Lorraine, and Daryl, and Andre, and all of you. Call us at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, WCPT 820 here in Chicago, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and Santita Jackson and Friends. And meet me on Twitter at Santita J. At Santita J, everybody. Chicago will have a high of 37 degrees, snow showers. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 32 degrees, snow showers. The NFL had a rare night off. We got a break. In the NBA, the Timberwolves will be playing the Magic, and the Bulls will be facing off against the Pelicans. In the NHL, the Predators 2, the Wild 1, and the Blues will be playing Chicago later on this evening, everybody. What about President Trump? Call us at 773-763-9278. He filed his papers with the FEC, and he is officially running for president in 2024. What do you think is going to happen? Will that help him to not be indicted? Will it stop the investigations? What do you think is going to happen? Call me at 773-763-9278. He said, in order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for president of the United States. The historic Artemis 1 mission took flight today, finally, after months of fits and starts, paving the way for NASA to return astronauts to the moon. It's an uncrewed capsule. In other words, people are not in there, not this time, but the next time they will be. And it will complete its journey in about 25 and a half days. Let's pray for a safe journey for this uncrewed capsule so that we can get a crew up there and ensure that they will be safe, everybody. A federal judge on Tuesday blocked Title 42, a controversial rule that allowed U.S. authorities to expel more than 1 million migrants who cross the U.S.-Mexico border. This leaves the Biden administration without one of the key tools it put in place to thousands of immigrants arriving at the border on a daily basis. And let us not forget, everybody, that the greatest number of visa overstays in the United States are not from the south of the border, but from our brothers and sisters to the north. That's right. Canadians overstay their visas more than anybody else. Just saying. World leaders are attempting to defuse a potential escalation in the months-long Ukraine war after a Russian-made missile landed in eastern Poland on Tuesday. There was much speculation that this actually came from Russia. Washington and the rest of the Western powers, however, did pump the brakes, and now the BBC is reporting that that missile actually came from Ukraine. We'll see how all of that goes into Poland, which is a NATO nation. Let's get right to it, everybody. But before we do, I want you to reach out to Team Hochberg, everybody. Team Hochberg. Why do I want you to reach out to them? Because I want you to have financial freedom. If you're using a debit card, You really need a credit card, but you need a plan so that you can get your credit up to the space and place so that you get a credit card. If you have credit card debt, it needs to be brought down. Do not negotiate with these credit card companies. They need to talk to Team Hochberg. They know what to say. They know what to do to bring down your credit card debt, if not outright eliminate it. Do you want to buy a house? You say you don't have good credit? So what? They'll come up with a plan that will ensure that you will be able to buy a house. If you really, really want to get the financial shackles off of you, I want you to reach out to 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, and let them know. Let them know what your issues are. You'll have a free consultation. Let them know everything, because guess what? They've seen it all. It doesn't even matter. And I mean, Tom and Sonia, 2 children, mortgage that they were increasingly having difficulty paying, but they had 17 credit cards with $100,000 worth of debt on those credit cards. Can you imagine? No, you don't have to imagine. You know it's you too. And they were able to negotiate through Team Hochberg with the credit card companies. It reduced their payment plan by $2,800 a month. They were able to save their home. They were able to get a VA loan, even though they've been turned down before. So please give yourself a chance. Give them a chance. Call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go to 56david.com and see what Team Hochberg is all about. Everybody, okay, C.K. Hoffler, you do know Dwight McKee did predict that this was going to happen in 2020, and we all said no. But of course, joining you is, of course, Dwight McKee, attorney Daryl Jones, Lavonia Perryman, Emmy Award-winning producer, and on-air personality Erin Connolly, our sister here, who's with us every Wednesday, and Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary. But you know what? And John Nichols will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. You remember you said, no, he's not good. You said, oh, girl, I need my smelling salts.
Did I say smelling salts or heart pills? Where are my heart pills?
Baby, I think it was heart pills, all of that.
Heart pills, smelling salts, and now I've added the Lord's Prayer to all of this.
Well, no, that's a good thing.
Santita, you are so right. Dwight McKee, who's brilliant, who's a visionary, who is a leader, whose shoulders we stand on, and who's just a genius, did predict this. I was saying no. You know, sometimes you believe if you say no, that maybe it won't happen, even if you know it could happen. You just say no. And that's what I was saying. But of course, it happened, Santita. And despite the fact, there's some other things that have happened in this country yesterday that are really, really important, but they're overshadowed, such as a judge in Fulton County banning. I mean, this is really the reversal of Roe versus Wade. It's up to the state. And of course, Georgia passed an anti-abortion law, but a judge in Fulton County, and this is now the law of Georgia, reversed that. So that's really, really significant. But let's get to the issue at hand, and we can talk about that another day because, Dwight McGee called it, and so I think that Dwight McGee should talk about it, and we should hear his vision again. Even though I'm smelling salts here and have heart palpitations. I'm where are my heart pills? All of this, but Dwight McKee, you called it.
I don't know what he saw, Dwight.
And I am telling you, I ain't going nowhere.
Lord have mercy. I now need my heart. Where are my heart pills?
It's the best job I've ever known. There's no way I'm going ever. Oh, no way. Wow. Okay. Talk to me. What happened here?
All right. I'm going on mute.
Don't go on mute. Stay right here. Because you got to introduce everybody else on this panel. Shoot.
You gonna love me? Yes, I was singing it 2 years ago, me and Robert Patillo, because we saw it coming. Basically, because Trump can't afford not to be the president.
Huh?
Here is a guy that's been, and his whole kingdom is at risk.
and everything from his organization being dismembered to him going to jail is at stake. And so he, in many ways, can't afford not to be the president because it's the only thing that can save his kingdom. And the frightening part is when you really look at and understand the numbers, it is not out of the question. Is again that you're dealing with presidential politics and electoral politics. The people say because, he lost these local races that, it's finished and he's over. But you have to understand what that looks like. He's a guy who's been indicted, been impeached twice, who's under absolute pressure, who even then, most of the races he's lost margins about 1 or 2 or 3% by dysfunctional candidates. He endorsed, most of his candidates that he endorsed really had no reason to be in politics beyond his endorsement. They were dysfunctional, and yet many of them were 1, 2, 3% in the play. And he also got, even today, most of the white votes in America. He's got more white votes than everybody, including Biden. And so if there is an adjustment by the Hispanic votes and more black people get involved in his campaign, which is what he was bragging about last night.
He was.
In electoral politics, he has a legitimate shot, y'all.
I mean, but Dwight, what did you make of that? Because he took the time to say, look, I've increased the participation of African Americans, of Latinos. I have grown this party. He said that last night, Dwight.
And he's going to reach out, and what you're going to see is, and you can write this down, you're going to see a legitimate outreach by him to the black community and the Hispanic community. He's going to adjust his position on some of his immigration policies. And he's going to, I would not be surprised if he set up a reparations commission to start looking at that. He is a very shrewd guy, y'all, and he understands who he's dealing with. And as soon as he can figure out how to bring more blacks and more Hispanics into the party without alienating his racist white base, then it's going to be on.
And guess what? This is what Roger Stone said that he should do at the beginning of 2015. He said, if you're going to run, you can win, and you can completely subvert the system. If you just run the way you live your life, Donald, he said, Mr. Trump, because that's what he calls him. He said, look, if you reach out, he said, you can reach out to black people. You can reach out to Hispanic people. You can reach out to all these different groups, and it's going to bust the two-party system, which is hanging on by a slender thread anyway. He said that. Then you didn't really see him on TV anymore.
And reality is that we're not talking about Santita, is we'll reach out a bowl. Is that there is a lot of disenchantment in the black community and a lot of disenchantment in the Hispanic community. And that and they're willing to make the deal a deal if it's the right deal. So if he understands the art of the deal. So if you promise them the right things, many of them are going to book because the Democratic Party, which is what they put all their hopes in and all their dreams in, has not been able to really deliver at the level of expectation in the last 40 years.
CK?
So we're negotiable.
But CK, but this is it's what they call realpolitik. This is just real politics. And we've got to take our
No, it
sentiment,
is.
we have to take our sentiment out of this and look at what we're looking at. That's why I had to listen to his speech. And when I heard, I said his manner, and my mother said he was going to come back this way. She said it because my mother, she's a shrewd political animal.
Yes, she is.
She's
Yes,
shrewd.
she is.
She's shrewd. She said he's not going to come in 2024 the way he came to you in 2016 or 2020. She said he's going to be calmer, and you're going to see massive outreach. The Republicans have put community centers in Black and brown neighborhoods, and whenever you can tell a Republican is coming, you want to know why? Because they always come loaded with gifts, money. That's real.
Right.
That's real.
And paper towels.
And and throw them. That's all right. Yeah, and they bring the HBCU office back into the White House. Hello, they do that too.
Yes. So let me say this: it's all reachable, it's all doable, and let me, of course, give exceptional deference to the exceptionally brilliant Dr. Jacqueline Jackson. Yes, she's very shrewd and perceived it as well. I will just say this. This is a clarion call to the Democratic Party to get with the program. And I think that the Democratic Party has heard it in this sense, and hopefully they will hear it and will act on it. The Democrats won in the Senate by such a slim margin, 1 or 2 people. And Georgia's still up for grabs, and I just hate to even mention the words Herschel Walker. But the fact that Herschel Walker came so close to winning in Georgia, you talk about heart pills, heart palpitations, smelling salts, our Father who art in heaven, all of that, all of the above, Daryl Jones. He came so close. You were there in Georgia. You and Barbara Arnwine have been organizing for Transformative Justice Coalition, doing a brilliant job at the forefront of these fights in all of these major states. So what do you say? Well, how did you read, Daryl, Donald Trump's speech last night and his announcement?
And Daryl, just so that you know, I got about 90 seconds for you and anyone else who you bring on, CK. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, Santita and CK. Let me tell you, I first had to go take some pills after listening to Dwight McKee give that analysis because it's just so concerning seeing it all. But when I watched this speech that went on from President Trump, it just reminded me of where we came from and the many things that he just didn't acknowledge that existed. It was like recreating this beautiful world that was here when he was the president that I don't think I was a part of. And, it's scary because what really shook me was reminding myself how short the memory is of many Americans. And, and outside the Beltway, the way that they perceive things and how things are misperceived. And it's like he's creating an alternate universe of information of how things existed that we don't remember existing, so it was very concerning. And so when Dwight comes and he's talking about, he's going to create a reparations committee and do these things and reach out, and people will again, in my mind, start forgetting what it was like when he was and begin buying into running for the carrot that he's putting on the stick that you'll never be able to reach. And he'll, have a real strong opportunity to then be president again. So, that certainly is concerning. It also is concerning for this reason, is that I think that one of the things that former President Trump did effectively last night is he really did draw the line in the sand. He really did, mark his space to intimidate other Republicans that may be interested now in putting their hat in the ring, showing them what they're going to have to put up with and how he's going to be a formidable candidate. I think that he effectively did that. Mm-hmm. And it was very concerning to me, particularly when they started shouting, drain that swamp, during his speech. It was very concerning, extremely concerning.
Well, it's concerning, but it's just the politics of the matter. I mean, it really is. Because let's be clear, I don't think this has not been CK and Attorney Jones. This is not Dwight's wish. He's just stepping back.
Right. It's Dwight, he's just singing about it. He's just singing about it. But, Santita, I would like, if we've got enough time to hear from Aaron Connolly before we go on break, I'd love to hear Aaron's take.
We got 1 minute.
She's been knee deep in this. Aaron?
Well, thank you, Ms. C.K. Hoffler. I'm anxious to eat my popcorn on the sidelines and watch what the Republican Party does in the next couple of weeks in response to this, right? Oh. We have Florida Governor DeSantis thinking about making a presidential run. We see these gorgeous losses for Trump candidates around the country. And I think his energy last night reflected that stress. He's backed into a corner. He is probably getting indicted again somewhere, right? His effort to run for president is an effort to dodge that indictment from many accounts. And he's feeling like a loser right now. Despite his big announcement yesterday, his candidates lost, his policies lost. People that voted to impeach him won in districts that are competitive. And the Republican Party is starting to wake up and realize what Lindsey Graham said many years ago in 2015, that if they let him in, it will destroy the Republican Party. And the battle that's going to happen behind closed doors and in the press is going to be fascinating, especially considering that Fox News cut away from his speech and apparently is no longer supporting him in the same way that they did in the past. So I'm anxious to see all of that play out. I definitely will get some smelling salts with my popcorn, though, just in case.
Look, I hear you. We're going to go to this break, but I can tell you what, just because Murdoch cuts away and the Fox team cuts away, okay, they've lost some of that corporate support, and the corporatocracy on one level is turning away from him, which helps to make him even stronger, Aaron. It makes it look like he's being rejected by the people at the top. So it makes him stronger with his base. Oh.
And Liz did say that from home, y'all, by the way.
What happened?
Liz did say that from home, by the way. She ran her out of office.
Oh, ouch.
Liz Cheney.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. She said Trump was over. She said that from her house. Because she got run out of office.
But this is Livonia.
No, stand by. We're coming back, everybody, in just a hot second. Stay here with us on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Stay right there. Livonia Perryman, go on and say what you were going to say.
Well, in my humble opinion,
okay.
I believe, and I've heard everything, two things. One, if you look at the numbers, 16% of African American males ended up supporting Trump. Mm-hmm. This is not we made up. This is actually did happen.
And the numbers have grown, Livonia.
That's right. That's right. So we need to hear what the brothers have been saying. I'm on the air every day, and they'll say, well, I think the Democratic Party is left black men. I'm hearing it every day. And so Trump knows that, Dwight. He actually knows that, and he's going after them. And then they're saying, well, I like his personality. He got gusto, and he's a macho man, and that's what they're falling for. But guess what? Trump will burn the Republican Party down before he goes down. That's his plan. He is not going out quietly. He might have been under stress yesterday, which he was. He might have said, words and things that were not true, which he does all the time. But trust me on this. This is a man who is backed into a corner, who knows that everything rests on what he does. In the next 2 years, he will burn it down first. Now, that's a fact, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, particularly, since his freedom is at stake. And he's, looking at the possibility of being indicted in Georgia and everywhere else. So I agree with you wholeheartedly that he has a lot at stake, and so he's going to do whatever he can to secure his freedom. And and I wonder, when you were talking about the black males that are supporting Trump, if it's that hyper masculinity that he's portraying that some brothers are attracted to. I don't know. Certainly
They
she
are.
does give a,
Just so that you know, Daryl, these are not my wishes. I start asking questions. I want to know why. That's why I don't shut people down. I want to hear why you're doing what you're doing, why you're thinking what you're thinking, because that's what I want to know. Look, my background is in chemistry from college. Okay, so no matter what I put in that beaker, if I didn't do it right, I was not going to get the result that my professor said I needed to get. Okay, and that's just how it is.
Back in 90 seconds.
Stand by. You know what? I'm going to have to, and hold on, I'm going to have to let a couple of you go because we lost a couple of lines, and so I can't we can't get any calls in. We're getting some complaints about that. So what I want to do, Reverend Dr. Yuri, you're still there.
Santita, you know what I can do? I can conference in like I've done before.
Okay, if you would, I need you to conference in. I'm going to send you John Nichols' number, but I'm going to have to let someone. I am going to have to let someone go. Okay, so let me send that to you right now.
I can check in. I can check in.
No. Stand by because we're going to keep talking about this. Just hold on. We're working. We're working with hot grease. Come on.
Or you know what I can do, Santita? Better still. I can conference in my conference line, and as many people as you want to call in can call in on that, and then I can conference them all in at once.
Oh man! Well, I'm going to send you a few numbers in, so because you have Daryl's number,
what
right?
I will do, I have Daryl's number. Daryl, I'm going to send Daryl the conference line.
Back in 30.
Daryl the conference line. I can send Todd the conference
That's
line.
Right.
I can send Aaron I can
do that right now.
Do that. I'll do that right now.
Okay.
And then I will call the conference line, and any other people you want on, just call that conference line, and then we'll be in.
Everybody, look at your phones and then hang up. And Dwight, stay there. Okay. And Livonia, stay there.
All right.
Stay there, but everybody else drop. Aaron, everybody else drop so that she can send you the conference number, okay? Thanks.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world.
I will call
John Nichols.
Nicholas.
No, Mr. Nichols. I just sent her his number, and so she's going to call him. But you can call him. Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We're talking about President Donald Trump. He's running again. What do you think about that, everybody? Boy, oh boy. Dwight McKee, let me stop before I get back to Dwight. Livonia Perryman, Emmy Award winner. And she is after, let's bring that down so we don't have to hear that. Okay. It's an alternative view, but you know what? He did say Miss Livonia Perryman, Emmy Award winner, brilliant. She's on 910 AM, the super radio station out of Detroit. Okay. And she's got broad reach.
And so everybody will know in the state of Michigan, thank you so very much, dear. I just can't tell you how I appreciate being able to be on this show. But
this is not going to be the last time. We're going to do some cross-pollinating so we can get to know each other's audiences and really help people to know. People need to know you. When you hear Dwight say this, he wasn't talking about his aspiration, Miss Livonia.
Of course not.
He was saying, hey, y'all, this is what we're looking at. Because it sounded crazy in 2020. He and Robert Patillo, our Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push, said that he was not going to leave office. Everybody shouted him down. They said, and they shut down. They didn't want to hear it. He was like, no. He is not leaving, y'all. He ain't going nowhere. He's going to set up a parallel government. You'll have an alternative White House known as Mar-a-Lago. He's going nowhere, and he's going to run again. Oh, if he loses.
What it really is a parallel reality that he is in, and he has created it very well. He started, and it wasn't that he went from losing as being president. He has an alternative motive, and Dwight, you're right. It is truly his personality. This has been, talk about dream. This is who he is. It is just, you move from New York, you move to Florida. That was just, a train ticket for him. But his thought about who he is what we see. He is not one to give up, to give in, and he will do whatever is necessary. When you said he will create a reparations commission, I believe you. He will create another reality that will bring forth individuals, more than 16% African Americans, men who he know are teetering on the bridge of being a Democrat. And unless the Democrats hear and understand
and do something. Come on, Livonia.
Right. Do something.
And not just do something. They've got to come through, Livonia. Because when I talk to these black men and these Hispanic men who are going over, who are supporting President Trump in particular, this is what they're talking about. They're like, you all are not delivering, and I'm done. Stay right there, Livonia. Stay right there, because we've got John Nichols, who you knew from the campaigns. And, of course, we've got everybody else, because CK has conferenced all these other folks in. He sent me a tweet, which said it all. Let me just read this as I bring you on, John Nichols, national correspondent for The Nation magazine. The mistake that pundits make is to think it matters that most Republicans are not excited about Trump running again. In a crowded field, you said, he needs only about the support of about 35% of the GOP primary and caucus voters to win the nomination, and he's got them. I'm done with you, John. Maybe we should hang up on him, huh, Livonia? Dwight, I think, because he sounded like Dwight this morning. I can't take two.
and just Todd Yeary and Daryl Jones are on too.
And Aaron. Or did Aaron have to take her baby to school?
Aaron, are you still on?
Okay.
But John has a good point. John Nichols he has the point. Here's the point. You have men and be they black, brown, and you have the people who were standing in the audience with millions of dollars yesterday, listening to the media is calling the loser, but the loser had a meeting yesterday to announce he was running president of these United States, and he had billions of dollars in the room, and he had the 34% of the people who will never go anywhere. You could tell them anything about Trump, and they're going to be there with mega hats on no matter what. All he needs is a sliver of brothers of black and brown, and a few others, and he
got it. Well, you know what, John Nichols? This brings us to you.
Yeah.
Because you know, what do they say? Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. Even after all that his former attorney general said about him. He said, look, I'll probably support him. Yeah, because he'll be the Republican nominee. John Nichols?
Look, here's the bottom line. People think that Donald Trump has a massive following. He doesn't. And that's an important thing to understand. His actual following has always been only a portion of the Republican Party. He, in 2016, he didn't get a majority of the votes in any Republican primary until New York in April. That was months into the primary season. He was usually getting about 32, 35% of the vote. And if there's a crowded field in 2024, he'll do the same thing. He'll get 30, 35% of the vote. All the pundits will say, oh, Trump is, he's lost his magic. He's no longer the star. But he will get enough votes to win the primaries, to win the caucuses, to win the nomination. And then once he has the nomination, then he will be the leader of one of the two major parties in America. Like it or not, we've got a two-party system. And in that circumstance, Republicans will fall in line behind him, just as they did in 2016, just as they did in 2020. Now, in 2016, it was barely enough to pull him across. In 2020, it wasn't. In 2024, Trump is not going to sing a new tune. He's not going to offer you something different than what he offered you in the past. That was quite clear from his speech last night. It was like a greatest hits show at the casino. But the thing to understand is that Trump always rises or falls on the tenor of the times.
if in 2024 things are better, right? If the average American thinks, yeah, you know what? Under Joe Biden, the Democrats, after the last couple of years, things have gotten better. Our lives are maybe not perfect, but good, or at least improving. Then Trump doesn't have a chance. He'll go nowhere. However, if things are tough, if we do, if inflation comes back, if we do get hit with a recession, whatever, then Trump has a chance. And this is what pundits and political observers have to understand. They always underestimate Trump. They always imagine that, he's about to go away. And now they're all excited about Ron DeSantis. I can tell you right now, and I'll say it bluntly, and I'll say it again and again, the biggest loser on November 8th was Ron DeSantis.
Why?
Because he did well in Florida. He had a good finish, and all the pundits and all the Republican elites said, oh, well, here's the alternative to Trump. Here's the candidate who can beat Trump. Now, that made DeSantis Trump's target. And if Trump is good at one thing, it is at destroying any Republican who gets in his way. Ask Jeb Bush. Ask Rand Paul. Ask Scott Walker. Ask Ted Cruz. Ask Paul Ryan. The list goes on and on and on. And so people who think that somehow DeSantis is going to shove aside Donald Trump are on a fool's mission. The fact is there will be 8, 10, 12 Republicans running, probably, and they will divide up the vote. Chris Christie and Mike Pompeo and, nameless others will be out there. DeSantis may or may not as well. But in any kind of crowded field, Trump remains the dominant figure in the Republican Party. It is just as simple as that. And rather than, kind of doing the fantasy once more, as some of your guests have said this morning, Democrats should stop underestimating Trump, recognize what his appeal is, and counter it. They don't have to counter it by embracing his racism or his xenophobia or any of his, lies about things. They have to counter it by doing things, by doing real things that make working class people better off.
Yes. No, thank you for that. I mean, I'm saying, look, we have cancer, you don't need NyQuil. You don't need cold medicine.
That's right.
You need chemo, you need radiation.
And,
okay.
And this is the thing. This is the thing, Santita, and it's such an important aspect of this discussion. The fact of the matter is that at the core of Trump's speech last night, and I listened to the whole thing, at the core of his speech, he said he was running to get rid of the corruption. He was going to be for term limits, for getting money out of politics. He had all these reform messages at the core of his speech. Now, does Trump mean that? No, he didn't do it the last time he was there. He's not going to do it this time. But these promises, right, will identify him again. He will try to be identified once more as an outsider, as a rebel against the establishment, not just in the Democratic Party, but in the Republican Party. Trump loves the position that he's in. He likes to be the person saying that everybody else is wrong and everybody else will let you down. Well, the way to counter that is to not let people down. And if Democrats want to know what they need to do, it's very, very simple. They need to fight with everything they've got. At the federal level, where it will be difficult because of control of Congress, but the president has the power of executive orders, and at the state level, where they now control a number of states, to deliver for poor and working class people, to deliver for those who've been dispossessed. If you're making things happen for people, then the promises of a charlatan like Donald Trump don't get very far.
Well, there is that.
And I'm like, and this is once again, this is Lavone, and you're absolutely correct, Santita and Nickel. Democrats must show up with a plan and execute a plan. You already know, Democrats, what is needed in the community in the United States, and you have to start delivering on that. If someone says to you that I need shelter, then you need to find that. And because you can, if you're claiming to be the winner of November the 8th, if you're claiming to be able to manage the Senate, if you're claiming to be the governor of the state of Michigan, if you're claiming to be the Secretary of State, whatever you must do, that's one thing. One other thing I like to say, that stars are not born, they are made. And who knows that best is Trump. He has created this image, the likeness and image of himself that can be sold anywhere, that we have to confront it. One thing for sure, I don't understand how we're going to fight a pit bull with a poodle, Democrats. I don't get that. You need to come with all barrels open. You need to take a bite out of the Republicans if you're going to do something. One thing is the action plan is key, Nicholas. It is very key. But you got to confront the person or the image or the proposal or the action head on right now.
That's right. Yeah. Look, why did Trump do well in 2016 in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, the three key states that switched?
Yeah.
The answer is very simple. Democrats worked with Republicans and did NAFTA back in the 1990s. Then they did China free trade in 2000. Then they did a host of other free trade deals. Democrats and Republicans saying, oh, this is going to be great for you. Well, 60,000, I'm going to repeat that, 60,000 manufacturing facilities, factories, closed between the time that NAFTA was enacted in 2016. 600,000 workers were directly displaced, and millions more had their livelihoods and their circumstances undermined. Millions of young people who might have gone into manufacturing weren't able to do so because the factories were closed. Now, Trump went out there and lied to people. He said, oh, we're going to reopen the factories. He didn't do it. It didn't happen. But the lie at least said he understood what people were scared about, what people were concerned about. If Democrats want to do something right now, very simple thing, they should be in the forefront of reindustrialization of the United States. And that doesn't mean opening up the old factories and doing the same old thing. It means doing some of what Biden's done right, with some of these new initiatives to create batteries, to create the technological advances of the 21st century. But they've got to put that commitment there, and they've got to make sure that those jobs are in places where poor and working class people live. And this is particularly in communities that have been deindustrialized, often communities that are overwhelmingly Black and overwhelmingly Latinx, working class communities, white folks too. And the bottom line is, you start that reindustrialization, you start putting jobs where people live, Trump's appeal will be very limited.
CK?
Santita, let me jump in here real quick.
Yes, Reverend Yuri Esquire.
So I think we got to be clear on what the numbers really are, because I think we've started taking the carrot of the messaging that somehow Trump's political influence is waning. The decision desk, even at NBC, has noted that of the 225 endorsements that Trump gave, 190 of those candidates won.
Would you say that one more time, please? Because the corporate media have not been telling the truth.
Of the 225 endorsements that Trump made this cycle, up and down the ballot, state races and federal races, only 30 of those candidates lost. That's not being lifted up. The other piece is Trump's not afraid of a state prosecution. A state prosecution will not disqualify him from running for federal office. A federal prosecution under the statute will. So here's what's going to happen. Get your popcorn. All he needed was to take the House. He didn't really need the Senate. He needs the House to be able to initiate articles of impeachment just to muck up the system, to create conflict, to see whether or not the Senate will hold a trial. He's not trying to get a conviction, but there will be a force from the far right for which there are 31 votes on the extreme right to hold up the Republican management of the House of Representatives. So you will see them go after Merrick Garland. You will see them go after Hunter Biden. You will see them even raise the prospect of going after the president himself just to create a contrast. And let's be clear on what Trump can run on that no one can take away from him, and it will galvanize the base. The 3 appointments he made to the United States Supreme Court that has them leaning so far right they're about to fall out of their chair is clearly attributed to one person. That's Donald John Trump. And so if we're clear on what this is, we've got to make sure that we don't get caught up in the hype of the messaging. The reason I say it was manipulation last night is he knew that if he took the bait and created a spectacle, that would be the story. So we got lulled into him being subdued. He wasn't subdued. He was calculating.
Thank you.
And he was calculating because around him, the media messaged for him what he did not have to message for himself. So don't get this thing twisted. If the gavel changes, they've already elected leadership in the House. The game is already played. The rules are already set. The next 2 years are going to be all about mitigating the exposure that he faces federally and let the state trials run whatever course they will, because at the end of the day, he is not threatened by a conviction in Georgia.
Well, let me just say this.
Right, to make sense.
Threatened by conviction.
Leave it right. Leave it to Uri to make sense.
Yeah, and what Reverend Uri is saying is spot on. I think there's one other thing that we need to put in the mix here, too, because it comes off of what Reverend Uri has said there. Kevin McCarthy has zero control over his caucus. He is going to be the leader of the Republicans in the House because all of the different factions on the Republican side know that he is afraid of them and he will do what they make him do. And the loudest faction, the most extreme faction, has already extracted from him a promise to do hearings that will investigate the Democrats for investigating what the Republicans did wrong. They are going to turn the tables here, and they're going to turn the House of Representatives not into a governing body, but into a messaging machine for Trump and Trumpism. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene has already promised. I'm not reporting something that isn't known. She said it to the newspaper. She said it to television. She met with McCarthy, and he promised her she would do what he asked. She also said, is arguably the most extreme member of the House, although that's a big competition, that she will have real power in this House of Representatives. So that's what you need to understand. Trump and Trumpism is not going to, they're not going to try and govern in any way over the next 2 years. They don't have the power to do that. They will turn these next 2 years into a vehicle to promote their agenda and to reinforce their base. What the Biden administration, what the Democrats have to do is use the Senate as effectively as they can and look in the House of Representatives for that handful of Republicans that don't want to go off the cliff with the right-wing with the right. There are a handful, and they have to be incredibly strategic and incredibly aggressive in this regard. This is not going to be a game that's won in the back rooms. This isn't going to be a game that's won, quietly through negotiations. It's got to be a very public, very aggressive advocacy for a set of policies. Not saying you don't like Trump, not saying you don't like McCarthy, but for a set of policies. And if those policies are denied by the House of Representatives, let that be the story. Don't let the silly and pointless investigations be the story. Let the story be that Republicans are standing in the way of jobs, justice, freedom, the planet.
I mean, it's like, are you serious? You all are not. All you had to do was say, this is what we tried to do, but the Republicans stood in the way. That's all they had there. That's all they had to do. They wouldn't do it. Like, what are you doing? This is crazy. You know what? Let me just say this, everyone. We're going to have, hold on one second. We're going to have a bit of an after show. Henry, if you would, please answer. Some of these people are calling in. To be fair, Henry knows that the show ends typically at 8 a.m. East Central Standard Time. But whoever can stay, I hope, Livonia, I hope you can stay with me for a while. Aaron, I know you got to take your son to school, but I wish you would stay with me for a while. John, Dwight, CK, I know you got stuff to do. But people really do want to talk about this, and they really want to hear from you. So stay right here. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show, the YouTube channel, and Santita Jackson and Friends, because the audience has grown and grown and grown. Stay right here. And Henry, just bring some of these callers in so that we can, because CK was brilliant enough to come up with a solution for us to free up the lines. We want to hear from you today. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278, because we want to talk with you. And this is not, we're not talking about wanting President Trump to go back. And no. What Dwight McKee said was, let me tell you what he's going to do. Because I've studied him. You have to get over get out of your feelings about politics. Don't do that. It's not about feelings, it's about facts. Okay? Take that. Understand that. Get over yourself. This is not a date, it's a destination. It's about the allocation of resources. That's all that this is. That's all it is. And whoever is in office, you have to learn, particularly Black people, because we are in a caste, John. So we have to go with the way, because unlike everybody else in America, Black Americans cannot pass into whiteness. Okay.
That's right.
We're the only ones who can't. So we're the readily identifiable other. If you find out that someone's got some Black blood, it changes your thoughts about them in America, because that is how we do things. I'm not mad about it because I'm glad I am not tragically Black. I'm not even magically Black. I am Black, and that's that, and I'm happy about it. And I want John to be happy about being white. I want Aaron to be happy about being white. I want Daly to be happy about being brown. I want everybody to be happy about how God made you. I don't believe anyone is superior or inferior. Get over all that silliness. That's just crazy. It's crazy. We all bring to this particular discussion and to the table our set of experiences. I don't know where Reverend Jackson and the civil rights movement would be without Reverend Frank Watkins, who is as white as the driven snow. Carolyn Kasdan, Jewish, woman.
Yes.
We come out of a rainbow.
Yes.
And we all bring what we bring to the table, our body of experiences. This old farm guy from Wisconsin who showed up on my parents' doorstep, frightened. My parents were scared to death for John. So they said, he's a baby out here. But you know what? He's our baby because he's out here campaigning for us. So come on, John. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
When we saw those people Cracker Barrel last night, who were embracing Reverend, they were Black, they were white, they were working class, they were poor, and they said, we thank you, Reverend, for fighting for us. We need to stand up for each other, everybody. And we need to tell the truth about what we're seeing, about how our politicians are marketing to us, so we stop getting played. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show channel, YouTube channel. I want to get some thoughts from you, because we need to talk about this, everybody. I love you. Stay right there, and see you tomorrow. But we're going to talk some more today. Stay right here. Keep talking, everybody.
They're right here. They're right here.
Well, y'all just keep talking. We're just going to talk right on through this. But Livonia, because Livonia was there. John, you were there. Dwight.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
Well, you're speaking truth about the rainbow. And, it's still, historians still haven't wrapped their head around this. That the rainbow was the most powerful vision to come into the Democratic Party, to come into politics since the New Deal. It was a transformative vision because of a lot of reasons. It wasn't sufficient to make Reverend Jesse Jackson president of the United States, but it was sufficient to transform the Democratic Party into a party that could win once more. And the fact of the matter is, the further the Democratic Party gets from the rainbow, the further it gets from winning. The closer it gets to recognizing the full promise of the rainbow, that isn't just about bringing in people who are different from one another. It is about recognizing what we have in common and about going to those base core issues that can lift up everyone, right? And making people understand that they rise together. That was the rainbow's message, and it was an incredibly powerful and transformative message. Unfortunately, today, too frequently, Democrats lose sight of that. They think they can win on the margins. They think they can, switch over a handful of Republicans in some suburban area. One of the reasons Democrats did poorly on November 8th was that they abandoned rural areas. They pulled money out of races in rural areas that they could have won. And the fact is, the genius of the rainbow was it said that the core of the city and farm country could run together and beat the elites. And the fact is that is still true. But unfortunately, Democrats don't always realize that.
Do they want to?
Some of them don't, because the money doesn't come from the core of the city, and the money doesn't come from the small town where the main street's closing down. Only thing you can get out there is votes if you try and get them.
And money and votes together count. See, it's money and votes. And you got to go to and come and bring forth the people who can vote. One of the other things that I want us to look at, even though we're talking about the national profile of America in terms of politics, I am concerned that we need to send a message to those governors those are the individuals who can build write policies, sign bills, and make a difference in individuals' lives. When we talk about poverty, Santita, I won't forget that was in my head all week. That who can have impact on the downswing of our lives? It's the governors in these states. It's those individuals. It's the commissioners. It is the city council and the mayors. We, as a people, regardless of race, creed, or color, those folk need to hear the message also. Those individuals can make a difference, not just in 4 years, 2 years. They can make a difference in months if they are serious about really bringing people forward and making a difference in people's lives. I mean, that's where we really need strong, powerful individuals who keep their word and deliver. You talk about delivering. And that's where it can happen.
If they're serious about that. I mean, do you know, but let me, I think it's important. CK, are you still there? I don't know if CK might still be there. What is it, Dwight, that you saw that had you saying, 4 years ago, that he was not going to go anywhere? And then 2 years ago, when we were in the electoral cycle, he said he's not going to go anywhere. He's going to set up a parallel government. You and Robert Patillo said this, and he's going to run again. And the more you throw at him, the more popular he's going to become. What is it? I know it's not magic.
Well, you have to understand the personality of what you're looking at, who you're dealing with. And
hold on one second.
And you have and you have to be able to factor in the intangible. I hear everybody talking about policy and deliverables, but what you also have to understand about this dynamic is that most black men love Dr. King. But most men, black and white, want to beat Donald Trump. He's everything that embodies their fantasy. Rich, famous, got his own jet, glamorous white woman. I mean, he is their fantasy. He is their point of reference for what success is. That's why he was able to market his name around the world. He put his name on the hotel, and people would pay more for it. Put his name on condominiums, and people would buy the condominiums. Those who understood New York, the whole stretch of about 15 blocks was nothing but buildings with his name on it. That has value, that has cachet. And so we have to factor that into the whole proposition. They talk about the numbers and try to make the numbers make sense. But you have to understand, when Donald Trump ran the first time around, he ran against Bush. And he ran against Romney. And
the whole establishment
part of the Republican Party as an unknown, and took them all out. This thing is much broader and much deeper than policy. A lot of it is emotion and sentimentality and values, and so you can't write this guy off because, one, he's not the kind of guy to be written off. And he's a tough gangster New York thug, but who's very shrewd. And you also can't write out the values of the American culture, which adores that, uplifts that.
Wait a minute, John.
Culture.
John, this is
And
culture.
John Wayne was our hero, huh?
Yeah, no, I want John Nichols jump in on this too, because I mean John, Livonia, CK, this is cultural too. That's why I keep trying to say we got to look at all of the elements of this.
Well, I'm
You're
respectful
absolutely correct.
because
You're
I
absolutely
think
correct.
First John, and then
Okay.
yeah, I think it's getting to the heart of the matter. And the fact of the matter is that Trump is a cultural phenomenon. He is a cultural phenomenon that enters into politics, and it can be transformative in politics. Now, here's the interesting thing to remember. In our culture, not everybody buys, the Mary Kay Blige album. Not everybody buys the Led Zeppelin album. Not everybody downloads Taylor Swift, and not everybody downloads Lil Nas, right? You know what I mean? People have they come at this from different directions. And the question is, how do you become dominant? Well, if you can hold a base of people together, if you can hold 30 to 35%, a third of the overall mass together, you can be the dominant figure. And in the Republican Party, in the primaries of 2024, Donald Trump is going to hold his base of 30, 35% together. His whole messaging last night was all about that. It was about holding that base together, and they were cheering him. And so the mistake that pundits make, the mistake that a lot of political elites make, is that they assume Trump's got to have everybody. He doesn't have to have everybody. He just has to have enough to get that nomination. Once he's got the nomination in a two-party system, a huge number of Republicans are going to fall in line behind him. And if the times are tough, if the economy is in a bad place, if other factors are going rough for people, he may be able to extend beyond that Republican base just enough to do what he did in 2016, which is take the presidency. And so you can't underestimate him. And I so appreciate what's being said here, because the fact is, this is maybe the one place in media where people are actually recognizing the reality of politics. It isn't just about, campaign contributions and knocking on doors. Those are real and those are important. It's also about, a sense of, who's on your side, what can happen. It is about instincts and a sense of where things might go. And Trump knows how to play that, at least for his base and potentially beyond it. And so people who write him off, look, at this point, we're 7 years into the Trump journey. The fact of the matter is, everybody who's written him off ended up wrong. Again and again and again.
He picks them off. John.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
And Santita, I'm hearing Dwight McKee singing again about how he's not going nowhere. But I have to tell you, it's important for us to recognize and see what's in front of us, because the worst thing is to put our heads in the sand and to underestimate anyone, because we have to realize the level of popularity that he had and that he only lost by a few million, if that. And
that he won most of these races, CK. The corporate media are not telling the truth. His people won.
Well, and they're down. Well, what's really interesting about the reporting on this is that the reporting is that a gentleman from Florida announced he's running. I mean, it's really, really being downplayed. But I have to just say something about DeSantis, because, I lived in Florida for almost 15 years and still try cases in Florida. And I will say this, I don't know who's worse, DeSantis or Trump. We really, 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 really have to keep an eye on DeSantis. I'm just saying this, and I say this respectfully. We're all entitled to our opinions, that we don't need to look at DeSantis as the knight in shining armor. He has some very, very, very disconcerting policies and positions that would shock even Trump. So we need to really, really look at. We're probably going to have whoever the nominee is going to be. It's going to be someone from Florida. Likely, it's going to be Trump. But the backup person could be DeSantis. And I'm here to tell you all he is not the knight in anybody's shining armor.
His policies, what he's put in place, has been completely disruptive, but he has overwhelming support in Florida. And of course, all things, in my impression, having lived in Florida, practiced in Florida and everything, and sitting in Florida right now today as we speak, many things crazy begin and end in Florida. I said it.
You said it well,
and I see it.
Santita, I apologize. I have to leave.
Not
and
before you
I'm
say
so sorry
something
to leave
else.
this, but-
Give us a closing
Well,
thought.
I'm gonna say, as I always do, that the best and wisest discussions I engage in every day, every time I'm on this show, are on this show, and that's because people are looking with clear eyes based on the reality of what's going on, and it is so true that DeSantis is as dangerous or more dangerous than Trump. And the important thing to understand is the only way that DeSantis beats Trump is by being worse than Trump. Not better than Trump, worse than Trump. That's how he might be able to, peel away some portion of Trump's base. And so what we're looking at in 2024 is a reality that we can deal with, right? If we recognize that Trump is a charlatan and that anybody who beats him will be more of a charlatan. They will lie more, promise things that won't be delivered, et cetera, et cetera. The answer to that has been well pointed out by Dwight and others on this call, Livonia, is to do things, right? And I'll leave with that simple message. The Democrats, instead of fearing Trump or fearing DeSantis or even dismissing Trump or dismissing DeSantis, ought to recognize the political reality we're in. It has been too long with too few results. And the fact is, Democrats have a decent amount of power at the state level and significant power at the federal level still, thanks to the voters. They ought to use that power in every way they can to make sure that Americans know that Democrats are fighting for them. Not fighting for the campaign donors, not fighting for the elites, but fighting for the grassroots people who elected Democrats and who might vote Democratic in the future. You don't do that with tax cuts for the rich. You don't do that with, bailouts for multinational corporations and banks. You do that by figuring out how to open up factories, to get people jobs, to give people the education they need, to give people the security they need. And the fact is, if I was President Biden today, I would propose an increase in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid benefits.
Yes.
Propose it, put it forward, and say, this is what I want Congress to do. I want to lower the retirement age. I want to get more money into Social Security. I want to make sure that Medicaid is in every state. And then let that be the issue. Let Congress vote on it. And if Republicans vote against that, well, you got a pretty good issue to run on in 2024. So with that, I have to go. But
thank you.
Again, I love what you're doing. I love this conversation.
No, I love you, and thank you for that, because that's really it. I mean, CK, you got to have some honest conversations. But you brought Chaparral on.
Absolutely. Chaparral is on, and you talk about honest conversations and good food. We can always count on Chaparral to have honest conversations, to call it like it is, and also cook some of the best food in the world.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, CK. Listen, I know you guys, everybody has to go, but I want everybody to realize that Republicans are not our problem. We are our own problem. Democrats are the problem. So my question to the panel quickly, what can Democrats do while we still have control of the House, and what can Biden do to shore himself up for the next couple of months? Because we know what's coming. And the thing is that we always wait until we can't do anything about it. But right now, he still can make some executive orders. He still can put in the George Floyd Justice Act. He can still do the Civil Rights John Lewis Act. He can still put all those things in executive order, so that way for at least 2 years, these things are protected. He could actually propose adding more people to the Supreme Court. He can do all that right now while he has the power in Congress to do some of these things. So I want to know that if you know, I believe that Democrats are more Republicans than they are more Democrats. You know what I'm saying? In their policy and philosophy. And so the issue is that we are our own worst enemy. So we're not doing what we need to do. So everybody on the panel is speaking truth to power, what we need to do. But the people who have the control, they are not doing it. The Democrats are not putting the messaging out there, and they're not putting the policy out there in order to enact to protect the laws that we want them to protect. And so if they don't do anything before January, we're going to have 2 years of gridlock and Trump running the races. And that's what I'm saying. What can Democrats do now today to shore up the next 2 years?
Well, stay right there. Now, you know you have worked very hard with the Democrats of Livonia. You've been in D.C., Detroit, and we're talking to someone from Chicago. Okay, this is not inside the Beltway conversation. So, okay, I've got music.
I'll hang up on the other line.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I was like, oh, I got music. Okay, that's great. But so what do you say?
Well, I react to music in the business, so I always be quiet. But anyway, you too. But she makes a very good point. See what is happening, Democrat. I hear it every day. What about the John Lewis bill? What about the George Floyd bill? That was a promise. I want folk to hear me. It was a promise by the Biden administration. Biden said it himself. I will take care of you because you brought me to the table, African American and women, but especially African American women. He said that. We know that. The numbers say that. You're right. The Democrats have to show up and show out and keep a promise. And then they have to do the right messaging behind it. For the last 2 years, the messaging has not been where I think it should be. Even with all the wonderful things that people say Biden has done in the last 2 years, and he has made a significant inroads in all of our community in the United States. And people have and will benefit down the line from some of his initiatives. But who knew? Who knows? Are they saying it? Are they sharing it? No. This is me. No. They need to do better on that. But they have to now, right now, deliver on a couple of promises that they made that I believe you're right. Could these kind of path the way as we go through this chaotic time that we're going to go through with Trump, the Republican Party, those people who don't believe that those at the bottom or in the middle have a right to anything other than serving them. We have to fight for them. But we got to show them that we are going to keep the promises we've already made. And you're right. The promises were made. Promises must be kept.
They really do. I mean, it's just, I'm like, who else is still here with us? I don't even know.
I'm here.
Oh, Dwight, what do you think?
I think the things that need to be done, then I wouldn't do. And you have to think real strategically and long range. One is they need to bring D.C. into statehood. That'll give D.C. in the statehood. That'll give the Democrats a whole nother electoral reality that they could operate with and deal with. They're not willing to do that because it's about black people. You need to bring the Haitians into Florida and give them time to mature. So, and you can galvanize that community, and you can neutralize the Cuban impact and the Puerto Rican impact, the Cuban impact in Cuba. In Florida, and they could go heads up with them to bring some balance to that electoral thing. Lastly, they need to bring Puerto Rico into as a state. And If they bring Puerto Rico as a state, it has the same impact and effect as bringing Washington in as a state. But they're not willing to do that because they are, in many ways, as racist as the Republicans are, and they're not willing to keep that kind of power to black people, particularly in a city like Washington, which is one of the world's richest, wealthiest, most powerful cities. They really don't want black people to be in charge of that and have access to all of those resources. They want to, maintain that and be in charge of that because they're so invested. But that's what, if I were in charge, that's what I would do. But again, you have to have long-range thinking and be strategic in your approach. I don't see that with the Democrats. And part of it is because, there's the element of racism with them, too. And then lastly, I would do what I said I think Trump is going to do. I would introduce a notion of reparations.
He's going to do that.
And galvanize the black community. That's what would pull black men back into the system.
Livonia, I see him doing all of those things. I mean, not to interrupt you, Dwight, although that's what I did. I didn't mean to do that. Livonia, I see they're swinging for the fences.
Yes. You are. We all are saying and singing the same tune, and we need to have, the people who can make a move need to hear this. This is theater. This is about culture. This is about image. This is about messaging. And see, you're right. Trump is not a politician. Don't claim to be. Don't want to be. He is a man. He is that person in The Godfather. In The Godfather, he is that person. And who loves that person? Who has every sequel of The Godfather? Men in their repertoire. What? And I can ask any man on the street, doesn't matter what race, creed, or color, have they seen Scarface? Huh? Culture, image, macho man. And he, meaning Trump, recognizes that nugget. That's all he needs, is a nugget of information about the people that who appear to be on the fringes. Oh, is that what you like? Well, I have something for you. We call him a charlatan. Yes, it doesn't bother him at all. That's who he has been all of his life. I mean, you can call him what you want, but he, at his home, he's called Mr. Trump, or still President Trump, as we know. He is still called, and he demands that people recognize him as President Trump. And for a man to be the loser that the media is calling him today, all that does is refuel him up. I mean, that's what I will take you down. You said it, Santita. He is going to take the media conglomerate down one by one.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Livonia. In a time, Dwight, I don't know who else is left here. Please let me know who else is still here. In a time when most Americans do not trust the mainstream media, the corporate media.
Right.
It's like, you nuts? Are y'all not looking at this?
Right. But you don't even have to buy a ticket to this movie. It is being played out in real time. What did Maya Angelou tell us? If they tell you and show you who they are,
believe them.
Just
believe them. That's all. That's all you need. Just believe them. Just believe them.
He gave us a roadmap yesterday. He laid out a roadmap. So this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. And guess what he did? He invited other people to join him. Invited. We didn't hear a soul after November 8th. Democrats didn't invite anybody to join them. And I'm a Democrat to the end. Period. But I want to be on the team and has some juice, some bite, some gusto, some gut. Who can deliver to the people what you promised. I ain't even asking about what we need right now. I'm just saying on the promise. That you got to do that now. This is not a conversation we can have 2 years down the line or at the Democratic convention. No. We got to save lives now. We got to impact lives now. We have to save the student loan bill now.
Now.
It's got to go down the tubes. It's got to go down the tubes. Does anybody hear me? You know what I mean? Is somebody saying, are we going to save just that?
Dwight, you have anything? It's like, whew.
Well, what they did effectively, and you have to give them credit for it, is they stacked the courts in such a way is anything that the Democrats now try to do by inquisitions, the courts block. So even something as basic as the forgiveness of the school debt, they blocked. It's again, it's very hard to win when somebody's playing have a long range strategy and you kind of living from day to day. It's and we're dealing with people who are thinking 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. The Heritage Foundation and the different think tanks that will put the strategies together that, for 5, 10, 15 years. And that's what we're experiencing now. We're really experiencing the consequences of a strategy that was put in place 40 years ago. And they had decided then it was going to take the state houses. They decided then it was going to take the Secretary of State, the legislators, the judicial. And while the Democrats was just, playing checkers. They've been playing chess.
And the thing about it, I'm glad you mentioned that. The studies are all well and fine, and I am of the position, I'm like you, Santita. I like to have facts, figures, and I love research and reading. Reading is a hobby for me. But I keep sharing with folks, we do not need another study, in my opinion, again, on reparations. We know it is one issue that we can move forward on. We're talking about Congressman John Conyers, who left us 3 years ago, who every year for 37 years pushed forward a commission. And when you read and dig deep enough to find out about that reparations commission, he wasn't even asking for money. Go figure. How are you going to do a commission without dollars? But my point is, we have studied it for 30-some years based on just Congressman John Conyers. Just that. And we are still having a debate. Can you imagine anyone out there that Trump will show up at a press conference and move reparations forward without his name on it, Conyers, and Ron Daniels, Lee.
And you know what? If he got advisors who said, this is what you ought to do, you know what he would do?
He will do it.
He would do it.
That's my point and your point, and I hope somebody is listening. Because what we're saying, though, what we really are saying, it is not as difficult as they're presenting it to us. Just so everybody will know, this is not moving that forward, that initiative, right now in the White House that we like. It is not that difficult. It is a choice. It is a choice. And yes, is it a political choice? Yes. Is it a risky choice? Some? Yes. But I can tell you every single day I hear from people all over the country. And it says, I'm waiting on reparations. They don't know what it's going to look like. They don't know if it's going to be a check or they're going to get a tax relief or they're going to get a house. They just say that we need to be acknowledged.
They want the acknowledgement of the harm done. Are you serious?
Yes.
And guess what?
Yes.
The Republicans, you know what? Sadly, the Democrats are playing games because, it's just like anyone who takes your love for granted. They think you're never going to leave. You're never going to leave. She ain't going nowhere. She ain't got no place to go.
Right.
Okay. All right. And keep acting like you ain't got no place to go. But you know what? After a point, everybody has a saturation point. I'm going back to labs at Howard University. And when you hit that saturation point, I don't care who, where, what. That's it. When you get an extra proton, neutron, or electron, you become another element, y'all. It is that simple. Every element has protons, neutrons, and electrons, and you have a certain amount for calcium, for carbon, for hydrogen, for oxygen. If you take away a proton, neutron, or electron, that element becomes something different. That's just the way it works.
And Santita, guess what? Trump knows. This is what Trump knows. It's a cliche. It's not what you do to a person, it's how you make them feel.
That's right.
He knows how to make people feel. Theater. He knows how to make people feel that they're wanted or needed, or you're in the in crowd. Or brothers, you're over there in the Democratic Party and they're not treating you well. I got something for you over here. Just join me over here.
And that's what they're doing.
Yes.
That's what they're doing.
Yes. Yes. And we had one of the other callers say, it's the image. Macho man, culture.
Mm-hmm.
I dress nice, I got money, I got my own plane. I mean, that is not something that's unusual. If it was, they loved MC Hammer because he was singing. I mean, I always say to folks, and I'm going to just say it out loud, why did rappers and hip-hop people become popular? Because it gave the other brothers who were on the fringes, who did not have much of anything, an opportunity to say, you know what? I don't need to play a piano. I don't need a guitar. But if I can use my inner talent, my voice, just like whomever, Jay-Z, I can be the queen, the king in my own castle. I can have the pretty girl, have the money, and have the car. That is a real reality. I'm telling you, Trump is playing on all of that. He knows that.
He's a marketer.
It's not about politics for him. It's about survival, and by he being the king of his own castle. And right now, you know what? I just keep saying this. He really doesn't want to do the work of being the president of the United States.
But you know what? So many of them don't. You know what? Let's get on over that, because you become the most powerful human being on the face of the earth. Yeah. Everything changes because nobody's going to let you do anything for yourself anyway. So you know what? That's why that's because we talked about Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. I'm like, it's not about qualifications. This is about optics. You know, nobody cares about that. Yeah. No.
Yes, you're right.
Come on. I mean, that's a very middle-class, Black, aspirational perspective. He's qualified. Yeah. He went to school. He went to Morehouse. He's an alpha. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares. No. What is it? What does my father often say? And he got it. He will tell you, I got it from someone else. People don't care that you know. They need to know that you care. They need to know that you are one of them. Boom. Mic drop on that. So all this, he's got these qualifications, and oh my gosh, he's so embarrassing to me. He splits his verbs, and oh my God, his elocution is not clipped. And nobody cares about that. As a matter of fact, he makes some folks feel very comfortable, including some Black folks, because he does not feel like he's sitting above you, y'all.
Right, because that same man, I'm gonna just say his name, Herschel Walker.
Yeah, say it.
The same man, the same uncle who sits across the table at Thanksgiving, and he say, you know, I still love my uncle. He might not be perfect, not be perfect, but he's always invited to the dinner table because why? He brings us gifts.
That's right.
Who he is. Wait a minute, Trump knew when he picked him. He didn't just get up in the morning. Some people think that, he just said, well, I'll go get Herschel Walker. No, he said, this guy already brings something to the table. What does he bring? Well, he brings the image of that not only Black men would love, not only Black women, but white men. Football player, Heisman Trophy, that's the top of the line. Who's going to dislike a person who brings in a trophy like that? That is cultural. Once again, it goes back to what you're saying. Image, cultural, theater.
And wait a minute, and y'all, I'm like you. I'm not the smartest guy in the class, but look at me. People are like, look at you. I'm just saying, y'all.
Right. And guy can get, you know what? I can go to that meeting or that rally, and I won't stick out like a sore thumb because guess what? I look like him. I talk like him. And wait a minute, hold it. It doesn't even have to be a black man. It could be a white guy. Anybody showing up at the rally for Herschel Walker and say, "Yeah, that's my man." Because I feel because he make people feel that they're part of his circle. And if his circle is large enough, he could be Warnock.
And guess what? Trump does the same thing. That's what Biden attempts to do, but I think he's been in Washington too long. Really.
Yeah.
And because he was asked, he aspired to be in that inner circle because he's an outsider. Donald Trump was not, he might not have been a Manhattanite, but he was not an outsider. He grew up wealthy. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, and, everyone, I just want us to start looking at what we're looking at. Get over, I mean, I know many Livonia folks were mad with Dwight 2 years ago. Yeah. Oh, yeah, old man was in. I said, but you need to come back and just I'm going to remind folks that you said that this is where this was going. And when Dwight said, we don't need to put, he's still here. You said, wait a minute, he's got the swag. When black men see him, when white men see him, when Hispanic, when these wannabe alpha males see him, and that's no shit. That is no shade on anyone. They see a guy who they go, you know what? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's what they like, and they won't articulate it the way we might articulate it.
Well, we're ladies.
But they will show up, or they will idolize, or they will respect.
That's it.
Someone who has it, and they know that, and in their hearts they know that they will not be maybe a multimillionaire. But they know one, Trump.
And wait a minute, and this guy likes me.
Yes.
And he sees me. Girl, please.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's it. That he sees me, recognizes me, or at least he speaks my language. Or he speaks to me. Once again, Maya said, they tell you who they are. And then the other part is, it's not about what they say in many cases. It's how they make you feel.
It's how they make you feel.
And he knows that is his craft. A charlatan can make you feel good.
Well, wait a minute. Anyone can make you feel good. Wait. All these people, no politician is coming before you to make you feel bad. Because they will lose.
That is true now. That's true.
Even your preacher ain't trying to do that. They're going to sandwich that moral message. You're going to have a great song, 2 great songs.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
One that's going to bring you down and help you just to kind of get meditative. And then at the end of the message, after the preacher has torn you up, they have a song that has you running up and down the aisles. Hello. I've kind of figured that out now. I can't believe it.
That's right, and they can put out the basket.
Yes,
and they can collect the goods.
Look, to keep the doors open. I mean, what?
I know.
It's like, come on, y'all. I mean, I'm just saying we have to be clear on what this is. And so when I saw him last night, and when he just very in dulcet tone said, they say I didn't win, but I did. Actually, a majority of the people who I ran, and he ran the numbers last night too. I said, thank you for telling us these numbers because these corporate media, they're lying. And guess what?
Oh, yeah.
His people know, Livonia and Dwight, they know that the corporate media are not telling the truth. So it makes you mistrust the media even more. And the more they pile on him, even people who don't like him are going to give him a little bit of shine. Because they're like, I don't like the way he's being treated. I don't like him, but I don't like this. Hello?
I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, and this gives him more energy because he knows the facts. He is aware of the facts. And here you got the corporate media actually using the word loser. Do you know it took them 4 years to stay lying?
Well, but they're doing that because they know they're wearing on him psychologically. But he is also just a little bit tougher. He is a street creature. He knows the game.
He does.
Stop playing. My father will tell you, Livonia, I'm out. Before I was a minister, I was out here. So Reverend Jackson knows people. He's one of them. Our first home, when my parents were finally stable enough to get a home, was in a project in Greensboro, North Carolina. Do I remember it? No, I was a newborn. But that's part of my family history. Okay, y'all?
Yes.
So, I mean, and being on the outside, going to big dinners and then putting Jesse Jackson at the door in the back of the room. I grew up like that. I grew up as an outsider. You all see the Jacksons as insiders now. I don't know why, but okay, I got it. You get in the paper enough magazines, I got it. But Livonia will tell you, we were always outsiders. We were always the people who made eyes roll when we walked in the room, like, oh, here they come, here they go. That even though Reverend got these corporate executives their jobs, he embarrassed them because he was too loud. He wasn't polished enough. Then their kids started going to school with us, and they were like, "No, they're really nice middle class, okay people." I get it. I'm just saying to y'all, stop playing these games. Stop it, because there's just something. People know you, and in politics, and particularly politics at the presidential level, they have studied you. They've studied their audience. The only person who came kind of untrained to this was Reverend. But Reverend, because he understood people and served people, he had a different approach. But I'm just trying to tell you, Obama's campaign won the advertising age. What is it? Ad campaign of the year, because they knew how to market him. They knew it.
Yes.
They put his wife out front because she's more plain spoken and she looks like a sister.
Yes.
Doesn't take anything away from her or him. No. Because Barack is an intellectual. He's someone I know. And so he loves reading War and Peace and all, because I'm kind of kooky like that too. And he loves all that stuff. Michelle's going to look at you and go, what are you talking about? Right, turn on that sitcom. That's what I want to see. And she gives you that because that's who she is. Mm-hmm. It's not good. It's not bad. Just understand where people are and how people grab you. And I just think we need to be honest, Livonia, about what we're looking at. Instead of saying, "Oh, if you don't say that you hate Trump, if you don't demonize him, you must love him." I'm like, you are nuts. That is not how this game is played.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Livonia, so many politicians who are our allies politically are awful people, and then so many of the people who we fight tooth and nail, you get up on them and they're some of the nicest people who will do very kind things for you personally, and they will help you. You're in DC, you know how that is.
Right. Some doors are opened by the most unexpected people in the world. You never would think, that the door of opportunity would be open to you by certain individuals.
And you go,
individuals. I tell you. Go ahead.
And when you're in DC, you absolutely see that every day. You're like, oh wow. Yes, oh yeah. And these people, if they really like you, they'll reach out to you and they'll say, hey, they will help you out. And you know what? You don't have to come to me publicly, but you're my friend and I don't want to see this happen to you.
Right. And it has, and the question of politics or the question of the party affiliation does not come into play. It goes back to relationships. And even Trump is living on relationships.
Yes.
He is. Now, everybody be clear that 35% of the people, the relationship he has built with those individuals who will never go away, supporters, it can be a long-distance relationship. I'm not talking about he knows Tom, Dick, and Harry, but he has built a strong connection to a group of people who will always believe, and let me back all the way up. The individuals probably had thoughts like his from the beginning. So I don't think people get up in the morning and say, "Oh, I'm going to be ordained a priest or a minister overnight." They had they bring something to the table. They bring their thoughts, their values, their ideas, and someone can give them life. And that's what Trump has done to more people than we would ever recognize, because those folks didn't just show up. Trump, I always tell people, Trump is not the issue.
Thank you.
Check your neighbors. Check your neighbors. Check the people you work with. Those are the folks that you need to turn around and recognize and talk to. And they will tell you many times. I went to a Catholic school. There was only 7 blacks in the school. I can tell you today that majority of those people I did not even know were conservatives, staunch conservatives, but they were some of my dearest friends in the whole wide world. Go figure. And I'm like, you mean to tell me you're a Republican and you voted for Trump?
Yes.
And you're my friend?
Yes. Yes.
I've had to come to that reality.
Yes. And wait a minute, I have to let people know this is Lavonia Perryman. She is on 9:10 a.m. Superstation out of Detroit, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? Have to let people know. That's right, Carol, because I think you got some new fans here.
Right. Thank you so very much, Jim. I went to a Catholic school, dark skin. I'm going to just tell you, I'm the Michelle that you know. Michelle Obama.
No. She is ebony hued, and she's always looked like a model. So when she would walk in, people always thought she was a model. They never thought that she was a producer. They knew she was on TV. She had to be, because she's that gorgeous. So let's just keep it 100. Ain't nobody hating. Right. I love you.
Yeah, I love you. Not at all. And I'm blessed. My point is, I went to a school, and Reverend, you know who said Bishop Winan asked in the church.
Yeah.
How did Lavonia end up being a Catholic, going to all Catholic white schools, and who she is today? But I recognize, because of my mom, just like your mom, I recognized who I was a long time ago. She said, Bonia, you are a little black girl, and you're going to go up in this world, and you got to do better than the rest. And we're going back to the point that you're making today, Santita. You got to recognize where you are, who you are, and who you're dealing with. And we as a people in America must understand the press conference that went off yesterday was only the beginning of the show. That was the introduction to a show that is going to take on life for the next 2 years. Trump is going to make it his business to be the star of the show. And guess what? Once again, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope corporate communication will understand. I do not want to get up at 6 in the morning and see the name, or go to bed at 12 midnight and see the name. But he is as a craft that can almost wedge into making him the star up until 2024. He can do that, but it's up to the people. It really is, and it's up to the corporations that you speak of, Santita.
Well, you know, and we're the ones who push. We're the ones who push the needle. We're the ones. All the only governments, oligarchies, oligarchs, monarchies, they exist because we allow them to. So we have to choose to say whom ye will serve. And we're the ones who have to make this decision. Dwight, you still there, honey bun?
Yeah, but I'm just listening.
No, I want to hear what you, because we're going to have to get off the phone in a minute.
Yes.
I'm having to go.
Let him have the last word. You know, I will go on and on
No,
on.
because I love it. I love it.
No, you all are making sense.
No. Yes, Dwight.
No, you all are making sense. I was just listening to you all wrap it up.
Okay. Well, Miss Lavonia.
I think you're right on point.
Miss Lavonia and Dwight, y'all can wrap it up. Dwight?
Lavonia, I think you're right on point. I think all your points were salient. And once you understand what you're dealing with and who he is, then at least you can put together to compete against
you. Because see, too many of us don't want to recognize Dwight and what he is willing to do to win. And he let you know by being more sober last night and by mentioning black people. Because only the people, he did not go off on black Americans. He was very calculated in that, in his whole public life, except for those boys, sadly, tragically, in the Central Park Five. Beyond that, during his campaigns, he stayed away from black Americans on the insult tip. That was a calculation.
Right. You know why?
Because he understands where his margins lie.
Because what?
what he understands where his margins lie.
Absolutely.
And if he can type off another 10% of black votes, particularly black male votes, he's going to be the president.
Absolutely. Understand what he's doing, too. He knows what I know and what you know. He needs numbers. It's about money.
That's right.
And vote. And he knows, they already have calculated how many votes he needs from white America. Already calculated how many votes they need from the Latino Americans. They have calculated that they must get a significant number of African American votes.
Mm-hmm.
The calculation is in. That's what we heard yesterday.
Look, I'm not, but you know what? The Democrats do the same thing. This is what they all do.
Yeah.
This ain't no love
Not
fest.
as well.
I agree. They don't do it as well, but they also take us for granted. And that is why these Republicans, they're open. They have a little bit of daylight through that door, and they are ripping, pulling, and they're making a door.
All they need is a shred.
They
don't need to. They only need they already calculated how many they need. They don't need to go out and pull all of Chicago.
But you know what? They're prepared to do that. That's my point.
Well.
Now wait, because they want to win.
That's right. That is by any means necessary. Haven't we heard that before?
What you need is a small margin to tip the balance.
That's true.
That's what they're playing for.
That's true. And that's the direction he is going.
If they can type off another 10%, they're in.
And they know this.
Yeah.
That's why he has been willing to go into these black spaces. And some of these places, some of these things he had to cancel because we reneged on the promise. You know, if we said you're going to be interviewed by so-and-so, and then we switch it up at the last minute, he did that. A very big entity did that to him. And that was wrong. So my thing is, wait, y'all, hold on. This is politics. It's politics. It's politics. And as they say in baseball, play ball. People ought to be trying to win your hand in this political marriage. The easy girl loses in the courtship game. Remember that. She ain't gonna get no ring, Livonia.
Yes,
you may see a black Secretary of State. You may see coming out of the Republican Party. You may see another black Supreme Court judge coming out of the Republican Party. They're going to play rainbow politics.
He told you that last night, Dwight. He said, I've expanded the party. I brought more black people, It's true. I brought more African Americans to you. I brought more Hispanic Americans. He said, no, we are winning. And guess what? He's going to drill down he's going to drill down and get him some more black folks. And he's going to get him some more Hispanics. He's going to get him some more women. Right. Karen Bass is not being supported by Kim Kardashian and the head of Netflix, who's married to Clarence Avant's daughter, and on and on. She ain't getting all black folks in LA. As she's running to be the mayor. Huh?
You see? Yeah.
Our politics are more nuanced. We need to be clear on what the deal is. Stop being emotional, y'all, about your politics, about these figures, and don't hate someone because the media tell you to hate them. Get over that. Stop hating Donald Trump. Understand him, know how to deal with him, and keep it moving. I didn't say vote for him. I did not say that. What I'm saying to you is this is a grown-up sport. This is for grown folks. And we are grown people with our needs. We need to feed our children. We need to feed ourselves, feed our children. We need our neighborhoods to be right. We need crime to be taken out. You're going to have crazy crime when people do not have any options. When you tell them they can't eat, they can't get a job, when you take manufacturing out of the United States of America, which was done under a Democratic president, but it's under the corporatocracy because they couldn't do it under a Republican. They'd have a nice Democrat who we liked. That's how you got NAFTA. Don't blame Bill Clinton for that, because guess what? Republicans wanted it too, but they didn't have the personality to carry it over the line. Just stop. Make a decision about the kind of country and world that you want. and force whoever's in office to do the things that you need them to do. Boom. It is that simple, Livonia. That's how we had to walk out of those conventions, mad as we could be, and Reverend would say, get over that. There's some things that this guy, when he gets in, can deliver to us. That is what we want. I learned that from Reverend. When these people would insult him, we showed up at our hotel in 1984, Livonia, in San Francisco, and they knew this was going to be the Jackson Hotel. And and my parents' room was not ready. And my mother went totally off downstairs. She said, you mean to tell me I got here? After I've run for president all around the country, we're one of 3 people left standing, and you give me this black treatment? Oh, no, no, no. By the time my mother was done with them, the floor was filled with flowers and food.
You see?
She said, no, 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 don't play with me. Come on.
Yeah, that is the history. That is.
You know, because you were there.
Right. A man who ran for office, who took Michigan, you understand? A man who was at the door of the White House, Reverend Jesse Lewis.
Held the door open so everybody else could come in, and they shut the door in his face, but he keeps on going, okay? I got it. Because you know what?
Right.
As I told the Harvard interviewer, I said, you know, I know Caroline Kennedy went to Radcliffe, which is Harvard for girls. Yes. Okay, because it's still the Harvard is still for the men on the undergraduate level. Radcliffe is for the girls. And he said, and my interview was awful because these people were very unkind to me because they did not like my father and his politics, and they said so. That was okay. I already had a full scholarship to Howard, so I was good. My mother asked me to get a full scholarship to college. That's what I did, and so I was done. I applied because my father asked me to. He said, I want you to have the option. So I had Howard and Spelman, Spelman, and Yale and Harvard. Okay. So I got into all of them. Great. Yale, no problem. Harvard was the problem. And I said, you know, because the meeting was so hostile when he found out who my father was, I said, did this happen to, because I couldn't sass him because I was not an adult. I could not return fire. I said, you know, did Caroline, I wasn't raised that way. I said, well, did Caroline Kennedy have to, was this the kind of questioning that she had to, that she had to withstand? And that's how I put it, not endure, but withstand. And he said, well, your father is not a president. I said, my father's killed no one. My father's a freedom fighter. I said, my father worked for Dr. King. They're men of peace. They don't kill people. Presidents do.
Well,
that was the best I had at 16 or 17.
That's right. Well, that was the best you gave. And guess where you ended up? At the Mecca.
Come
Howard
on.
University.
Look, my mother told me you are not going to insult black. You're not going to. This is the most prestigious black school in the world, and they want to pay you to come here. She said you are not. She said, "Now I told you I didn't agree with your father, and you applying to these schools. I told you to throw out all those letters because you were done." My father saw me throwing out the letters. He said, "Pick a couple of them." He said, "Because sadly, when people find out that you were down the road, baby, when people find out that you were accepted by Harvard and Yale, they might respect that more than your Howard degree." And do you know that is true today?
Oh, I know it's true. I know.
And that is our tragedy, Livonia.
It is. It is. It really is. I was asked to.
My father, and I'm supposed to disrespect HBCUs, and this is where my parents met and married. Now here, they're HBCU. Going to school behinds, they get me to the interview, and I'm supposed to disrespect an HBCU. I'm like, what my father got, he didn't get from U of I. He left the University of Illinois because y'all treated him so horribly. He had to go to A&T.
Yes.
I wasn't saying anything else.
But look at the foundation. I keep telling you, look what they developed. First of all, your dad, you, and others. And we bring something to the table. And then you got to be in the right place, the right environment. to give growth to that dream. And the historical Black colleges that we just mentioned, that's just a few.
Well, wait a minute. I've got to acknowledge Candace Smiley, and I want you to listen to Livonia Perryman on 9:10 a.m. in Detroit. It's the Superstation from 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You've got to listen to her. She said this is the rawest, realest conversation instead of the optics on CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and these other platforms. You got it. But that's what independent media, and we need your support, everybody. We really, really do, in order to stay on the air, so that you can get these conversations. But she gives you these kind of conversations and then some from from Detroit, Michigan. But it's a superstation, so it covers a big chunk of the country. So it's Superstation 9:10 a.m., 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Livonia Perryman, the Livonia Perryman Show. Follow her on social media, everybody. She needs your support, and she deserves it. I'm sorry, Miss Livonia, you were saying?
Absolutely. And you can call me at any time on the show and just share your thoughts. But my point is, we need to see, sometimes we, African Americans, don't recognize what we have, what we've been given. And sometimes we don't even know sometimes. We just don't know. But just think about, I'm looking at from afar. I'm going to just take myself out. And I'm looking at the theater of Rainbow Push. Rainbow Push has developed some of the best minds. It's given the opportunity to give birth to some of the best and most talented people in the world. You know that. I'm not just bragging. I'm just telling it. It's the truth, guys. And I, as a media person, and I said it yesterday, we are not telling our story the best we can. I need to tell the story.
Well, we have to respect the story, Miss Livonia. Because sadly, we didn't love the blues until white folks loved it.
All right.
Because, okay.
Or hip hop.
Remember, or gospel. Remember, Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers and Mahalia had to sing in the basements of the churches. It was only when
James Cleveland.
Come on. It was only when, what was it? What the tremendous John, you would remember him. I'm forgetting. It wasn't Saul Bellow. He was a big journalist on the radio. He championed her, a Jewish fellow. He championed her and put her on the concert stage in the United States and all around the world, and brought her back to America refashioned. Although her husband had been a Fisk Jubilee singer, so she could have a classical presentation until she caught the spirit, and then she'd go someplace else. So we don't respect what we develop, and that's on us. We're gonna have to make a decision. White folks' ice is not colder.
No.
And will also not melt faster. So let's not go off. Let's stop going off on each other. Okay? Really.
Right.
Oh, y'all, I really have to go, but I want you and Dwight to have some final thoughts.
My final thought, once again, I'm going to be as clear as possible. And I say this to myself. As I look at my dad, who's 98 years old, and it's still, I'm his baby daughter, and he still asks me, "Did you clean your car?" He can't even move his hands. He can't even feed himself. But he asked his baby daughter, and he asked me, "This is the truth." I told him I was going to see Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I want to say as I close, to all, keep hope alive.
Amen. Dwight McKee, keep hope alive. Dwight? Did he leave us?
On mute.
Well, that's all right. Honey, you have said it all. Livonia Perryman, everybody. Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time. 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The 9 a.m. Superstation out of Detroit. You don't want to miss it. And thank you so much, Studs Terkel. That's it. He championed the great Mahalia Jackson. He did. And she was viewed very differently. Yeah. That's right. She was viewed very differently because white folks liked her, and they had a classical presentation for her. we just have to grow up and learn, everybody. We really do.
I thank you so very much for giving all of us a platform to share, to predict, but we need to keep our eyes wide open and look at what we see is what it is. One thing for sure, what we're looking at is real. It is real.
That's right.
And we have to deal with it. Thank you so very much. Truly my pleasure.
Well, see, I'm glad it all worked out. I told you yesterday, I was like, you're going to be on my show.
It did. It did.
You're going to be on my show.
All right, then. You take care.
I love you. I love you, Miss Livonia. Love you.
Love you more, dear. Take care.
Absolutely. And I love all of you, all my morning stars. Like and share this show. Like and share, like and share. That's right. I put it on the Perryman. I put it on. Let me bring it right back up here, you all, because I did put her here so that you all could see this. Okay. There it is. Does that help you at all? Okay. Yep, I want you all to. It's Livonia Perryman. Okay. All right. So I love you all. I love you. I will see you tomorrow, Lord willing, on the Santita Jackson Show. Boom, boom, boom. Love you.